Hello, everyone. This is Andre's Restart. Tonight, we are talking about Nintendo. Surprise, surprise. We actually have a guest coming on a little bit later tonight. Looking at the lighting. You know what it is? The lighting is weird because I'm wearing a white shirt. It's throwing me off. I wonder I wonder if it looks better if I turn off the color. Honestly, all right. That I'll just some color. I'll have some color there. But okay. So I don't even need the headset. I will need the headset for when I always have it on just because I actually don't like having a headset on. Hold on. Let me put yeah, that'll do. All right. Excuse the slightly awkward start to the stream, everyone, but we are we're getting started. We are getting started. It's gonna be it's gonna be good. We're gonna we're gonna talk about stuff. We're gonna talk about stuff. All right. I'm now my bearings are establishing. Here's a little bit of water for me. All right, so the guest tonight is Cameron from Gamebird Classic. His channel is linked in the description below. He'll be popping in a few minutes. Oh, I have to send him the link. That's important. All right, so he can join. There's the link. Jump in whenever. Okay, so let's all right. So my basic thought process behind the title for tonight's stream, and then I'm gonna get to the chat for a little bit, do a bit of Q&A while we let Cameron get back from work and situated so he can join us for tonight's discussion. But the basic idea is we don't really know how 2024 is going to go, right? Like we have this expectation, and by we I mean many, not everyone, right? But many think Switch 2 is coming out in 2024. And I did a poll a couple days ago asking people, how do you feel about Switch 2 reveal happening in March based off the rumors? And it was hovering around 60%. I think it started around 62, and then perhaps the poll started branching out past like the regular watchers, right? And so it got dipped down to about 57%, but about 20+% I think were undecided, and then like 18-19% were, they didn't think they don't think it's going to happen. So point is, the majority of people, at least according to that poll, right, people who watch this channel think Switch 2 is happening this year. And obviously, if a next generation console is coming out this year, that is going to impact things. But also, now that it's Tuesday night, right? The odds of things going the way they have in the past for February have become incredibly low. It seems every day or every half day, it becomes even lower. And so what I mean is, if there was going to be a general Nintendo Direct in February, we're pretty much past that point already where it could happen. Conceivably, they could announce it tomorrow and it could be on Thursday, but that's also at this point, pretty darn unlikely. The reason why it's unlikely is because, well, one, typically when we have a major direct, it happens in one of the first 2 full weeks of the month, right? Not the third full week of the month. That's extremely rare. I would have to look for an example of that. It's unlikely, especially because a Pokemon Presents will be happening the week after. But also, a direct happening this week, typically February directs happen on Wednesdays. Of course, there's a history of some directs happening on Thursdays, so maybe it could happen on Thursday, right? Except the problem with that is that Mario vs. Donkey Kong is coming out this Friday. So while they could have a direct that's hours before a game comes out, the idea of Nintendo putting out a shadow drop for an entirely different game becomes extremely unlikely. Why would Nintendo say shadow drop Metro Prime 2 or Wind Waker HD or something 6 hours before people are playing Mario vs. Donkey Kong? it's just really unlikely. So we'll talk more about it, right? But it's just kind of looking like this partner showcase rumor is becoming increasingly more likely to be true, right? The thing we heard and other people have heard, and there's these different signs. So a partner showcase for the Nintendo fan base is not exciting. It's disappointing for many, not for everyone. And I do think there could be some cool things announced in the partner showcase, but odds are they're not going to be Nintendo published games. There might be there could be some partner things that have Nintendo IP, but it's not extremely likely is the main point there, right? So the partner showcase is definitely something that's going to send people in different waves in terms of their emotion and feeling, right? Here is Cameron. No, Cameron's not here yet. Okay, cool. And so we have that, but we had this looming Switch 2 announcement. We had the Pokemon Presents, and so kind of like today, right? I put out a video talking about kind of the news that happened between today and yesterday, but it was mostly just sort of going over how Nintendo would handle this transition, the end of Nintendo Switch. And interestingly, I got dislike bombed like the moment I put out the video. And honestly, I don't care, right? Like I care because I'm like it makes me question, but at the same time, it's engagement regardless, right? But it was before people could even watch the video. Like I saw it immediately, right? So like it's a 13-minute video, and if the video has a whole bunch of dislikes right when it comes out, that says that people are jumping to conclusions and not actually watching the video or paying attention to what's being said, and they're just doing that. And so what's interesting about that, though, to me, right, is that I think it paints a picture. It paints a picture that people don't like the idea of Nintendo Switch 1 ending. And if you watch the video, I'm not trying to say Switch 1's done. Actually, I'm trying to make the argument that, yes, it is. We are trending in that direction. It is going to be a transition, but I still think there are some games coming. It's just going to be less. I think there are going to be price drops. I think maybe we get Nintendo Selects. I think there could be another revision. So things that I think a lot of fans would actually be pretty happy about for Switch. But I guess the point I'm trying to make with this is that it just kind of like, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that because I can sort of see some of the behind the scenes metrics, right? I can kind of gauge somewhat how people are feeling about certain topics. And so on the topic of Nintendo Switch 1 ending, there are some people that don't like that idea, right? So there's a lot of different things going on right now. There's a lack of news. There's people worried about Switch 1 ending. There's people antsy about Switch 2. People aren't happy about the partner showcase, but there could be good games there. When Switch 2 is revealed, there could be amazing things there. We might see 3D Mario. We might see Metroid Prime 4. People are still waiting for Wind Waker Twilight Princess. Like, there's all these different things going on. We don't know exactly how the year is going to shake out. We have some ideas. And so it's going to be a bit of a roller coaster, right? Like right now, there may be a little bit more toxicity and negativity as we talked about last week. And with the partner showcase, I'm not quite sure how it's going to go, but February might feel like a lull. And then in March, things might kind of like explode, right? And then people are going to be worried about, oh, can we get Switch 2 in time? And there's going to be the whole scalper issue that people are going to be concerned about, right? So I think we're looking at an emotional roller coaster in terms of like being a Nintendo fan for 2024. That's the kind of the basic gist, right? And so I'm looking forward to kind of just talking about, our expectations, our feelings on what's going on and where we're personally at. And when Cameron comes in, it's going to be interesting to sort of have a back and forth and see what he thinks. But that's the basic plan for the evening. I had meant to just do like a 1 or 2 line description of what the title meant. Instead, I think I just spoke for like 5-10 minutes straight. Anyways, that's it. So let me check in with the chat and then we'll go from there. I see we're starting off with a pretty high view count. We got 160 people watching. Thank you everyone for coming in. I super appreciate that. If you could like the stream, it'll help push it out to even more people. So I'd be very thankful for that. But yes, thank you for being here. I think it's gonna be a good one. So let me pop this chat out here. Actually, I see. Yes. Turkey610 with a super chat. Thank you for the super chat. Taker says, partner showcase and Xbox podcast on same day. Yes. Indeed. hold that thought because I'm gonna add my friend Cameron from Gamebird Classic. Yo, what's up, man?
What's up, dude? How you doing, man? Can you hear me
I'm
okay?
doing good. Yeah, I can hear you. I just I actually went on a random rant and then I didn't do the Q&A yet. So, but
No
here you are.
worries.
Yeah. So yeah, man, I'm about just responding to Taker here, right, guys? This is Cameron Gamebird Classic. I introduced you earlier when you weren't here, but his channel is linked in the description below. But Taker here saying a partner showcase at Xbox podcast on the same day. I think it's interesting, right? We got the confirmation that Microsoft is putting out this Xbox podcast, and from last week we were told that they were going to have an event where they were going to sort of speak on the conversation and rumors regarding Xbox going third party. I'm not saying they're going third party, just for the record, but there's a lot of rumors that a lot of their games are going to be on other platforms, right? So that's like kind of like that. And so we also have these reports that a partner showcase is happening on the 15th, Thursday as well. It's not confirmed yet, but a lot of us believe it, especially with how things are going this week. So it is interesting that they are happening on the same day because a partner showcase would have third-party offerings, and Microsoft, with all the talk of them putting games on their platforms, could we see some more from Microsoft on the Switch? Maybe. What do you think, Cameron?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. It's funny because I feel like for a while we'd get like a Nintendo Direct announcement followed by Sony saying they're doing a showcase or a state of play the same day. But in regards to Microsoft, you know, it's been really interesting watching that story evolve and hear those rumors about games like Hi-Fi Rush, Xbox exclusives coming to Switch. If they are landing on the same day and those rumblings of a Switch partner showcase are true, you know, it might be kind of cool to see Xbox make that announcement and then Nintendo be like, hey, guess what games are coming. You know, they may have worked out a deal where a little bit of those announcements are at the Xbox event, and then there's further announcements that we didn't know about Xbox wise coming to Switch in the partner showcase. So it makes sense to me, but I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm putting the headset back on. I don't know. I just didn't feel like wearing it for 10 seconds. All right. I'm sorry I'm being weird. What else is new? Yeah. But I don't know, man. It's gonna be interesting. So let me kind of get through. I have a few super chats to start off the stream, so let me get through those, and then we'll start hashing some things out. So interesting. Okay, that's how they do it. All right. Sam Talks Games, thank you for super chat as well, buddy. Sam says, yo, I just want to say I really appreciate your content, man. I'm super busy and super stressed, and this helps me relax. Hope they can come back on too. For sure, Sam, I'd love to have you back on. You know, I'm glad that, you know, at least you can watch sometimes and it helps you to de-stress a bit. I do understand that, you know, you're balancing both school and work right now, so it's not tough. I mean, it is tough. That's what I meant to say. It's tough to balance both of those, right? So, but keep it up. You know, you'll figure it out. But thank you. Rave Shock 71 has joined as a member. Welcome. Glad to have you a part of the team here. It's exciting.
Oh,
yeah. You just reminded me that I need to add more emojis for members. I will be doing so. Don't let me forget, guys, but I will add some more soon. Maybe for another stream later this week. Jumpman with a super chat as well. Happy 10th for Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Fantastic point. Honestly, the Donkey Kong thumbnail was a pure coincidence. Wasn't even thinking about it. But that is true. Tropical Freeze has recently had its anniversary, and it is a fantastic Donkey Kong game. So hopefully get another one announced pretty soon. But yeah, I love that game. How do you feel about Tropical Freeze, Cameron?
I I love Tropical Freeze. I think it's one of the best modern 2D platformers out there. Still, I think Donkey Kong Country Returns as well doesn't get enough credit. I wouldn't rate it as high as Tropical Freeze, but it's up there. So those two retro Donkey Kongs, so good. If you guys haven't played those, definitely check them out. I know Tropical Freeze, they released a version on Switch, and I wholly recommend it.
Yeah, it's got Funky Kong,
It's got Funky Kong.
which is easy mode.
Which
Yeah.
sometimes is okay. That game's tough. Tropical
I mean,
Freeze
yeah,
is
sometimes it's fun
pretty
just
hard
to
at
blitz
times.
through. No, for sure. Yeah. I do. I probably should replay Tropical Freeze on my Wii U soon. But yeah, I love that game. Aaron Rath with a super chat as well. Thank you for the super chat. So you're still thinking that a direct is happening in February? Well, yes, I am. If not, I mean, I'm more confident now than ever. But it's not a normal direct, and nor is it a normal mini. It's a direct mini partner showcase. That's what I think or believe. I do not know. I could be wrong. I am not God. I am simply a person. I am mortal. Probably. I haven't died, so I don't know if maybe I am immortal, but probably, I mean, I don't know. I think I can die. But anyways, point is, yeah, I think a direct is happening in February, but it is a partner showcase, right? That's what
Yeah.
I think it is. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense if you look at Nintendo's track record for directs. And I know that this year is a different case. We could be looking at, according to rumblings, a March reveal for Switch 2, the Switch successor, whatever it's going to be called. But again, Nintendo's the king of curveballs. So I feel like this year especially is going to be a little bit of an anomaly. Nintendo's releasing a console under new leadership. This is outside of Iwata's vision. We have Furukawa running Nintendo. So I feel like the things that we've kind of leaned on in our research of Nintendo are kind of out the window right now. But I do, again, we've had a lot of credible sources, people like Nate the Hate, really driving that they're hearing this as a partner showcase this month. I think it makes a lot of sense. The timing's right. It's been a little while now.
Several people that have heard that it's partner
Right.
Not even yet. Nate the Hate's just one.
Right.
That's what's kind of crazy about it.
Yeah, and I mean, Nintendo's history of having those presentations, whether it's a regular direct, whether it's a partner showcase, but getting something January, February has been pretty much throughout the Switch's lifespan. So it's kind of, we're just playing the waiting game right now.
I want to show you guys something. Cameron, do you know what we're about to do?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm on the spot now. Do I?
You know what we're about to do? We are going to the Direct Archives. We're going our favorite website, the best website for predicting what Nintendo's going to do. Just straight up look at their archives because it tells a story, a rich one at that. So let me share this with you guys. Karen, we've done this before, the StreamYard thing. But I don't know if I shared a screen with you on before. But
I don't think so.
Well, now you should be able to.
Beautiful.
I'm sharing the wrong thing, aren't I? Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. No, I am.
No,
it's the Direct Archive, right? Yeah, okay, we're good.
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. Again, thank you, Aaron, for the super chat. We'll get back to the chat in a moment. I just want to go over the Direct Archive here, right? So, the reason I brought this up is just because I want to kind of look at the history of Nintendo Directs, right? And like what's happening in the beginning months of the year. Okay, so I'm going back to the beginning of 2017. So when we kind of scroll through 2017, right, you'll notice that there isn't a Nintendo Switch presentation thing here. And that's because it wasn't a direct. It was a live conference. So it's not actually on the archive, but it happened in January. There still was a Fire Emblem Direct in January. But so the thing is that the Switch Live conference is like a direct times 2, it was a big deal, right? So that took up January, and the Switch came out March, but there was a direct immediately after in April, right? And so let's go to 2018. 2018, we start off the year with a Nintendo Direct Mini in January. We didn't wait till February. We had a Direct Mini in January, and then March we get a bigger Direct, right? And so this is an interesting time to look at because I think it compares somewhat to what we're going through right now. But then going into 2019, right, we had a February Direct. There we go. That's kind of this is the norm that we've come to expect. The February Direct, right? There wasn't anything major in January. We had something in February, and then going to 2020. Keep in mind it's a pandemic year, but we still had a big Animal Crossing Direct. That was Animal Crossing was basically like the Tears of the Kingdom of that year, right? It was a huge seller. It's what everyone was thinking about and talking about during that part of the year. And so that held us off until we had a Direct in March, but it was just a mini because I guess of the pandemic. But anyway, right then was the beginning of my worst nightmare, the pandemic summer of the Nintendo Direct Mini Partner Showcase. And to tell you the truth, the partner showcases aren't bad. The reason I joke around about having trauma about this is just because this was coming during a time where we didn't have a lot of Nintendo news, kind of like now, actually.
The Great Drought.
The Great Drought, right? So right now, we don't have a lot of Nintendo news. Right now, a lot of content creators are being made fun of because they're talking about just the Switch 2 and the Direct because there's literally nothing else to talk about. So that's where we were at in 2020, right? They were like, oh, there's no announcements, there's no Nintendo games, right? We got partner showcases that were just third-party offerings, but there were some good things that came from these partner showcases, right? Like we've seen Shin Megami Tensei 5, Monster Hunter, Age of Calamity, Mario Rabbids. I mean, they've at least had segments during these partner showcases, and we had a few throughout that year of 2020. But then going to 2021, we resume things as normal. February Direct, 2021. Then 2022, February Direct. Then what? Oh, yeah. Oh, this is September. Okay. Right. And then 2023, February Direct, right? And what you'll notice, right, whenever we have those February Directs, it's always in that first half of the year, or the first 2 full weeks, right? So I think this time happens on the 17th, but that would be the second full week of the month, right? And so right now we are in the second full week of the month, and without a Direct announced, that has implications for what kind of Direct we might see. Basically, it's not a big Direct with a huge lead up. And so it's just kind of interesting looking at all of this, right? But I think a big point to be made here, going back to 2018, is that in 2018, yes, we had to wait until March to get a big Direct, but we still had a Direct Mini in January to help tide us over, right? We haven't had a presentation in January, and we haven't had one in February yet. And what we're about to get is a partner showcase, which I might add is less than a Direct Mini. The Direct Mini has Nintendo announcements and third-party announcements. A partner showcase typically just has a third-party announcement, so they're typically smaller than even a mini. And so there may be something else that happens in March. I mean, we do think that it's a Switch 2 reveal, but could there be another Direct? It's hard to say, but I guess the main point to be made here is that it's rare for Nintendo to go 2 whole months without telling us anything at the beginning of the year. In fact, it doesn't happen. Throughout the entire Switch era, we've had news. The worst time, arguably, I guess. I mean, take your pick. Is the worst time 2018? Shortly after we just had the most amazing year ever. In 2017, where we just got a mini in January and then a Direct in March, or is the worst time the pandemic year, where because of the pandemic there was a lot less things to show off and announce, and they just had a big Animal Crossing Direct in February, and we had to wait till late March for a mini. Take your pick, right? But point is, we've never gone January and February without having some type of presentation. There will be a presentation. History's on my side.
Yeah, and again, it's kind of an anomaly year. Nintendo's gearing up for a new console launch. So, like you said, Andres, there might be another Direct planned at another time alongside the March Switch 2 reveal. I'm definitely expecting a direct in the summer to really
Oh, yeah.
showcase. Like that's gonna be our Nintendo E3 in the summer, is what I'm guessing, to where we really get to see what's going on with Switch 2 and why we should all be excited for it. Other than the fact that we're all Nintendo fans and of course we want one. But yeah, I don't know. I also feel like the partner showcases have improved a little bit since their inception. And
Sure.
so I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I feel like there's some really good third-party stuff on the horizon, and there's big stuff. I mentioned, and we just did a video. You collaborated with me on my channel, which was super cool. Guys, check it out. We do a bunch of predictions, a lot of fun.
It was doing pretty good numbers for you too.
Yeah, not too bad. I got to do a really funny intro, kind of making fun of the Switch
I
rumor
intro.
hysteria.
Oh my God. Such a good guys. Like it's like watching a Hollywood movie. Like just go.
Stop.
Oh, no, I'm going. I listen. I'm telling you. I'm pretty sure most of you watching, you will really like that intro. Like, come punch me in the face if you don't like that intro. Like, I'll probably be able to take a few hits, but it's pretty good.
I don't want to deviate too much from what we were just talking about, but I want to say real quick. I had this idea because, just the flood of rumors and leaks. I'm like, what if I kind of treated this like some sort of like epidemic, like a zombie apocalypse, but it's rumors instead of zombies, and people are going crazy. So that was like my inspiration.
What's that movie, the number 23?
Yeah. The number 23.
Like those vibes, right? Like, oh, 2 + 6 = 11 divided by that on the third day of the fourth moon. Like that kind of energy, but done right. It was really funny.
Oh, thank you, dude. I had so much fun. When I was making it, I was like, I hope everyone who's participating in this video isn't like, what the hell am I watching? What did I sign up for?
I mean,
but
I knew. I was
you knew already.
This is classic Gamebird classic. Yeah.
But what I was gonna say was there was a lot of great predictions from you and Sunbro Nation and Josie Woe, Rob Rule to a Review, lots of good predictions. But like some of those third-party games that we already know are coming, stuff like Deca Police, things that maybe Team Asano might be working on. Yeah. Triangle Strategy 2, maybe.
Yeah, apparently my Hi-Fi Rush prediction's already wrong.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. You know why?
We'll see.
Do you know why? All right, so I don't remember the exact details, right? But from what I've understood, Hi-Fi Rush was like in a trademark or something recently. And then I think that's what it was. But then after that, we saw like a data mine, I think, that showed like different. Maybe it wasn't a data mine, but it was some sort of information of Hi-Fi Rush that was showing like different like accessories or like shirt stuff, and it had shirts implying for PlayStation and Nintendo Switch. So both of those things in conjunction with rumors that already stated that Hi-Fi Rush is coming, in conjunction with Xbox going all willy-nilly with putting games everywhere, apparently, it really feels like Hi-Fi Rush is about to happen, right? But apparently, according to Nate the Hate on Fan Boards, the Hi-Fi Rush will not be a part of the Direct. Now, just because it won't be part of this Direct, it doesn't mean Hi-Fi Rush isn't coming, right? But also, it's a rumor of a rumor.
Yeah, so, it's a rumor of the rumor.
But, exactly. It's a rumor of a rumor to be announced in a rumor.
There you go. It's madness.
Yeah.
But no, one of my predictions was we could possibly see an Atlas announcement for Switch for Persona 3 Reload, which is a big deal right now. Persona series has gotten huge. Persona 3 Reload, I believe I read, is the fastest selling Atlas game now. So like getting that on Switch, and if rumors are true that Switch 2 is backwards compatible or even enhances the gameplay, you might have Persona 3 Reload performance comparable to what you're getting on the Series S, X, and PS5. So I think that we can get a partner showcase that's still hype. obviously it's never going to be as hype as a full Nintendo Direct. It's never going to be as hype as the big Switch 2 reveal, but it doesn't mean that it has to inherently be bad or a bad thing.
No, yeah, I saw some people talking about today about like, like if we're having like the Microsoft Xbox podcast, maybe they're going to sort of talk about, hey, yeah, well, we do plan on putting more games on our platforms, which isn't really too different from what they already do, right? Maybe they're just gonna, kind of be a little bit more active in doing so, which is a great thing for Nintendo fans, because, well, that means more Microsoft games, which are high quality games on Nintendo. We've already seen several Microsoft published titles on Nintendo Switch, and they've been pretty good. So I'm happy to see more, like Hi-Fi Rush, or as some people were talking about earlier today, Rare Replay. If we got a Rare Replay announced in a partner showcase, that might as well be like a big Nintendo Direct reveal. Like that's, for me, if they were to put out like a Rare Replay like coming out that comes out like May of this year, that would, like, you wouldn't even need like a Nintendo published game technically, because of that. And actually, you know what? I'll even say this: if Rare Replay, maybe I'm talking out of my butt here. I might be, but what if, like, for example, Nintendo published Rare Replay in Japan? Because we have seen Nintendo publish certain third-party games in other regions. So I think maybe it has to do with like, I don't want to pretend like I understand all the nuance behind it, but I'm gonna guess that the reason why they would do that is because they're funding the effort so the game could be localized for that area.
Right.
So say they don't have the team doesn't have the budget or isn't greenlit for the budget, so they can go through localization efforts in another region. And so it's like, yeah, but we want this over here, so we're going to step in and publish this so it happens over here as well, right? So like something like that, right? Maybe technically counts as a Nintendo published game for certain regions. But I'm just throwing that out there. I don't want to act like I understand all the nuance behind that, but it kind of makes sense, right? Because Microsoft isn't very big in Japan anyways. So, maybe there's something to that. But anyways, I'm just saying something like a Rare Replay theoretically could be in a partner showcase. And I think would appeal to a lot of Nintendo fans. Imagine Conker's Bad Fur Day. I don't think Donkey Kong 64 is on Switch yet. Diddy Kong Racing, Killer Instinct. Heck, there's even games that never even released on a Nintendo platform that at one point were considered, like Cameo, for example. I always wanted to play that. That was initially supposed to be a Nintendo GameCube game, but Microsoft bought Rare, and so that took some years to be finished, but it came out for 360, and that was one of the, I think it was a launch window 360 game, and it always it was before I even knew it was like, actually I think I knew it was a Rare game, which is why it caught my eye, but it had that Nintendo kind of feel to it, and so I never played it because I didn't own a 360. I play that.
I got a chance to play a little bit of Cameo when it was new. I had a friend who had a 360 at the time. Actually, it was my friend.
I played the demos actually in the store.
Okay. Yeah, it's actually my friend Colin at Any Games Necessary who joins my channel. But anyways, it had all the makings of a Nintendo game. It felt like a Nintendo Rare game. It kind of reminded me of a cross between like a Banjo-Kazooie meets Zelda. It kind of had that dungeon explorer with like the masks and the transformations and all the fun, weird, quirky stuff that you get with those.
Imagine if they added, it's like, so close. All right. Yes, yeah, you're right, but I'm just like, I'm getting excited because like, all right, so a Rare Replay, but like, what if it was a customized version, right? So it has, I mentioned Donkey Kong 64, Diddy Kong Racing, which aren't in Rare Replay because of the Nintendo games, right? But they're also in Rare. So imagine they add those, but then they also add Star Fox Adventures. Star Fox Adventures, upscale HD. Come on, that game will look so good.
I'd be really, really stoked for that. I'd also like a Star Fox Adventure full modern remake as well. But I'm not going to be picky. Give us one of the two. I'll be happy. So,
yeah. I mean, being able to play Conker's Bad Fur Day would also be a huge stuff for you. I mean, I guess the weird part about this is some of these games are like obviously like NSO potential, right?
Sure. Conker's makes a lot of sense for NSO, I feel like.
I mean, most of them do, but the one that, like, we mentioned Donkey Kong 64, Diddy Kong Racing, Killer Instinct, the Banjo-Tooie, like there's a lot of really good N64 rare games that we haven't gotten yet that can be added to NSO. But what are the odds we're going to get all of them on NSO? I don't know. We have, I think, 3 so far. So I mean, who knows how many more will be added? So I think we'll probably get more. But a rare replay would be a golden opportunity to add several.
Rare replay would be phenomenal.
Yeah. Also, there's no other way we get Star Fox Adventures like that, right? Like, I mean, maybe they remaster it, but
yeah,
I want to see Star Fox Adventures remastered. But it's also like Star Fox Adventures, like it's an offshoot of the rest of the series, right? Even though the series has obviously had identity issues, Star Fox Adventures is almost like a spin-off. Even though plot-wise it is definitely canon, like it is
totally
story-wise it's super mainline, but the gameplay is very spin-off. Like I'm just saying, like I want it to happen, but like what are the odds that Nintendo and Rare come together and remake Star Fox Adventures?
Very low.
But
very low
but what's more likely? Could we see them include that, the game as is in a Rare replay, but it's still remastered to an extent where it's upscaled into HD, right? Give us 1080p widescreen, kind of like how Pikmin 1 and 2 look on Switch. Like they clearly look better than the original releases, but it's basically like a localization plus an upscale. Like,
no, I think that an upscaled remaster that just has your basic, maybe some updated controls, updated camera, and your basic 4K upscale, like how most remasters used to be before we started getting things like Metroid Prime and some of the other other consoles that have put out. I mean, Metroid Prime set such an unrealistic expectation for remastering those old games, happily and sadly. But I do think it's plausible. Yeah, I could totally see them doing some cool little Rare replay, including that, or releasing it like how they've done Pikmin 1 and 2 and stuff.
Yeah. Let me get back to the chat. I have another super chat here I want to get to. Iron Templar, thank you for the super chat from a little while ago. Iron says, or asks, should Nintendo bring back games like Red Steel, Mad World, and Devil's Third now that they have a bigger install base? Could those push Switch sales? Firstly, I would love to see those come. I would love them. Would they push Switch sales? I don't think anything's really... I mean, it's all relative, right? Like, I think theoretically, someone might buy a Switch to play Red Steel Remastered or Mad World Remastered, but is it going to be a significant margin? I can say almost indisputably like it's not going to happen, right? It's not going to be a needle pusher. So yeah, I would say no. But does that mean they shouldn't have those kinds of games come? I mean, I think they should, but I think it should also be noted that none of those games were made by Nintendo, right? And so it wouldn't be necessarily up to Nintendo to make that decision. That said, remakes and remasters in general are a popular thing to do nowadays, and there's a lot of people who have a Switch, right? So if these companies like Ubisoft and Capcom are like, oh, can we get Mad World and Red Steel over and then maybe sell like 500,000 copies with a minimum budget? Yeah, they probably could, right? And so it probably does make sense financially to do it. It just depends if they make that decision or they make a decision to bring something else bring something else over instead. So I mean, I think they being Nintendo and whatever third parties involved, yes, they should, but I don't think it's like a foregone conclusion, and I don't think it's going to make a big difference in terms of hardware sales. But yes, they would be something that would make money for those companies.
I would really like to, I don't want to go off topic. I would really like to see with the Switch 2 or maybe Nintendo's console after that. I know looking really far ahead. Obviously, Nintendo Switch Online is here to stay. We do know that they plan to carry that over and have a nice seamless transition with that. But with some of the later gen stuff like Wii, I would love to see them incorporate some sort of return of Virtual Console for some of the newer
Lost
to
you
where
for a
you can
second.
buy Wii games maybe on the Switch. They're not free in your monthly subscription, but they're on a Wii Virtual Console that exists on your Switch 2 eShop, where you can go and you could buy games for 20, $25 or whatnot and get to play. Because the Wii is a fantastic console. It had a lot of, yes, there was a lot of shovelware, but this person just listed Iron Templar, listed Red Steel, really cool game. Mad World, one of my favorite action games from that gen. That's like when Platinum was like crushing.
Yeah.
They had Mad World and Okami and Beautiful Joe, and I know it's under Capcom, but Platinum worked on the action in those games. I would love to see Wii games make an appearance in some sort of a Wii Virtual Console, and then they could throw some GameCube stuff in there that they don't plan on doing remasters or more invested developments into.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see it, right? I think, one of the points of the video I put out today is that their games are going to come to Switch, right? Like, I think the people who aren't ready to move on to Switch 2 immediately are going to be the majority, right? Like, we're hyped about Switch 2. I'm going to try and get it day one. I kind of not try. I need to get it day one. I'll go out and hunt for several pre-orders until I for sure have that's going to happen for me. But my point is that I'm in the minority, right? Like, there's gonna be a few million people like me, but only like 10 to 15 million people are probably gonna get Switch 2 in the first year. What's gonna happen? There's 140 million Switches out there, right? So like, it's gonna take a few years before they start to, it starts to kind of transition over to where Switch 2 is the actual main breadwinner for Nintendo.
Right.
So they need to still have games coming out for Switch. That's going to happen. They need to appease the audiences currently on Switch regardless. So games are coming. And if it ends up being Red Steel, Mad World, and Devil's Third as ports, I'm for that because those are pretty hype. So,
yeah.
So I do want to kind of like just dive into a bit of like dedicated discussion, you and I. But I haven't gotten a chance to actually check the live chat. So I want to do that for a few minutes, and then we'll dive into something here.
Absolutely.
Because maybe I'll say it now so you can kind of have it in mind. I guess basically, like by the title, if you haven't seen it, Nintendo's 2024 is looking to be an emotional roller coaster, right? So I guess I kind of want your perspective on how you sort of see things shaking out. How do you feel about the ebbs and flows and ups and downs that we're about to go through, right? Like for the partner showcase, that may be a bit of a downer for a lot of people, but the Switch 2 might be a bit of an upper, unless you hate moving on, then it's a downer again, right? But then there's June. So I'm just kind of putting it out there right now for something you to chew on while I kind of look at the chat a little bit. Because I haven't had a chance yet. I'm gonna focus on ads right now, guys. Let's see here. Connor says everything sounds good. Thank you for telling me that. I don't even think I asked, and yet you told me. Thank you. Aaron says things look good. Thank you for letting me know. Squid64, I know this is from the very beginning of the stream, but I'm glad you love the JoJo shirt. I love the JoJo shirt too. It messes with my lighting when I wear a white shirt, but whatever. It's all good. Hello there, Joycey J. Hello there, Harry Myers. What's up, Spheromancer? Yvonne, most greetings from the United States. It's nice to see you here watching from Venezuela. That's awesome. Eric Sismonsky, just got here. Did I miss anything about Metroid Prime 4? No, we haven't talked about Metroid Prime 4 at all today. There's no major news, but that doesn't mean we won't touch on it later tonight. We're probably going to do that. Yeah. The real Jay Stone asks me, do you think the partner showcase will start at early morning before the Xbox show at Thursday? I'm not sure. To be totally frank. And I'm Andres. My name's not Frank, but yeah, I know. I got the dad jokes. The Xbox podcast. What time is it happening at? I was kind of assuming that So the Xbox podcast is at 3 p.m. Eastern time. I want to say that partner showcases tend to happen in the mornings.
They're usually pretty early, aren't they? Usually at like 6 or 7 a.m. Or am I off?
Yeah,
like 9 a.m. the latest. Or I'm on the West Coast, so
yeah, sure. So I mean, it's a little different, but I mean, they are early. I mean, regardless, though, I'm inclined to agree with you, but I don't remember. So I'm kind of I wonder if I can like search up Nintendo tweets. Nintendo of America partner showcase, and maybe I could like see, when they had it announced. Nope, Twitter has failed me. Well, hold on. What if I Google Nintendo announces partner showcase? There will probably be some articles that will link that, right? That makes sense. Nintendo. Yeah. Nintendo announces partner showcase. Nope. Wait, hold on. Nope, that's for June Direct. Nintendo Direct Mini Partner Showcase. Okay, this is a Reddit post, but do they have the Nintendo tweet? No. Because when I'm on YouTube, I don't think it tells me the time it came out.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Hold on, I think I found a tweet. All right, so this is the Direct Mini Partner Showcase that happened. I'll share it with you guys. This is the one that happened 2022 for summer. And new Direct Mini Partner Showcase is on the way. Watch on demand via our YouTube channel beginning Tuesday, June 28th at 6. Oh, I think the thing about this one is this is meant to replace like the E3, or it was this in conjunction with like a Xenoblade Chronicles Direct and a few other things. So this one had a little bit of announcement beforehand. This was announced on the 27th, and it happened on the 28th. But it did come out in the morning. So, if they follow this pattern here for this Direct, which I think had more announcement beforehand because it was part of the sort of like, the summer time, right, which is typically the biggest news point of the year, right? They announced it a day in advance. Literally a whole day in advance. So that would mean that if they were to follow this pattern, that would mean that tomorrow in the morning they would announce this. But I also say we've literally gotten partner showcases just shadow dropped before, right? Where people are like, oh, I've had live streams on this channel where we hear a rumor during the live stream, oh, someone's saying a partner showcase happening in the morning. We're like, nah, no way. And then in the morning, there it is, right? It's just out there. It's not live streamed. It's just a published video. That's something they've done before. So I'm not sure, right? I guess my main point is we have examples of both. I would say that if there's not an announcement tomorrow, do not freak out. I'm personally thinking they're probably not going to even announce it ahead of time. They're just going to drop it. I could be wrong. I'm not sure, right? I'm divided on it, but it could go either way. But based off that one I saw, it was in the morning. And for what I remember of other ones, they were also in the morning. So I would assume that even if we don't have a Direct announced tomorrow, Thursday in the morning, it'll probably be up by 9 a.m. Eastern time. If not, that's going to be interesting. But that's what I think is going to happen. I don't know if you have any disagreements with that, Cameron.
No, I think that sounds pretty accurate, actually.
And we'll see. We will see. Going down the chat. Hello there, 56TY. Good evening. Master Detective, the last partner showcase was pretty good. Yeah, I mean, there have been some good announcements. The real J Stone asks me, what are the odds for a Chrono Trigger remake announced at the upcoming Direct? 10%. I feel like eventually they got to do that, but I mean, it'd be awesome.
I want them to do an HD 2D remake of that one. I think it would be. Yeah, because like as cool as it would be to see like that game get the Final Fantasy VII treatment. I feel like for a lot of people, Chrono Trigger is a perfect game. So I know a lot of purists will be like, don't mess with it. It's perfect already. Give it the HD 2D treatment. The purists will love it, and new people will love it.
I agree. I want to see that a lot. Maybe that's the new Team Asano game.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Maybe that would be cool. I think some people talk about getting like a Dragon Quest remake. That's another option as well. Nintendo Prime in the chat. What's up, buddy? Sky Sword Alyssa. It's all good. Shout outs to you. The Real J Stone says, when Switch 2 hits the market, it kills the Switch 1 sales fast. I'm not 100% sure about that because I feel like, if you have a Switch 1 price drop, if they bring back the Nintendo Selects, if there's a new, smaller revision, I think people are going to buy that. Now, not everyone, right? Like the Switch OLED is the best-selling system out there, right? So, when Switch 2 comes out, you would think that would become the best-selling system out there for sure. But I wouldn't say that that the Switch 1 sales have just become nothing. I think there'll still be a substance, especially if there's a price drop.
Yeah.
Let's see here. 56 TY. What if the whole partner showcase is dedicated to Xbox games? That to me, one, that's not happening. But if it is, my gosh, that would be so cool. Because truth be told, I think Microsoft is one of the best publishers there are. So, I would be very happy with that. I would be happy with that. There's a lot of Microsoft games I would love to see on Switch, like Rare Replay and Hi-Fi Rush. So,
yes, agreed. Hi-Fi Rush is so good.
Hey, maybe remember there was those rumors a couple years back of like an Halo remastered collection. That would be pretty awesome.
Yeah. And thinking about the possibilities too, if Microsoft is trying to get its games out on other platforms and really broaden its market. Those recent kind of rumors about a new Banjo-Kazooie game, that could be I don't know how well a Banjo-Kazooie would do on an Xbox platform by itself, but if it launched both on Xbox and Switch too, I think that would be a huge win.
I mean, I believe that the Banjo-Kazooie game will sell more on a Nintendo platform than an Xbox.
Of course, absolutely. It would die alone on an Xbox. It would be a disaster, I think. I just don't think that as far as the community on that console is really, they're not really itching to get their hands on a Banjo. Most of those people are Nintendo fans. Yeah, it's going to be a little while before Microsoft has like a cute mascot game that really thrives on the console.
I would say that a lot of the games that sell on Xbox are kind of like the very mainstream games, like the FIFA, the 2Ks, the Call of Duties.
Yep, it's a different market.
Yeah. I'm not saying other games don't sell, but those, we're on the same page. Like, there's those really interesting kind of cartoony things, or just like I want to look up the sales of Hi-Fi Rush on Xbox. So, of course, the other thing is that when you have Game Pass, where people can just download the game, it also becomes hard to gauge,
right?
Like what sales are, because if there's a subscription service, that obviously takes away from sales, right? So it's hard to like truly gauge or properly compare them.
Right.
Dwayne Tucker, looking towards Metro Prime 4. Hopefully do one more trailer for it. There's at least going to be one more trailer for it before it comes out. Hopefully we get to see it soon. Yeah, for sure. I think I'm catching up to the chat. I'm definitely skimming a lot. Spheromancer, summer will be when they finally reveal the Switch 2 will actually be called the Nintendo Revolution 2. There we go. You got a twist twice. 2 revolutions.
The revolution squared.
Yeah. Hold on a second. Joycey J was asking about your channel in the description. It's there. Yeah, no, it's under guests. There's your channel name. I even added you. You're there. You should be. So, I mean, you guys could just search Game Bird. If it's for whatever reason, if the description's not working, which I don't know why it wouldn't, I copied and pasted it and it had your name. But Game Bird Classic, it will come up.
That's right. Just like you guys see on the stream, it says right next to me.
That's it. Yep, right there. Game Bird.
Or at least I see it. I'm assuming they could see it too.
Yeah, they should see it. Yeah.
It's probably just a broken link, maybe. I think that's happened to me a couple times.
Hold on. I do not believe that. No. Let me double check. I can confirm this in a second. Just gonna literally go to my stream from an app. Nah, bro. Well. Oh. It is a broken link. Thank you, Joycey J. I'm gonna fix that. I don't know why.
That happened to me on one of my podcasts for Any Games Necessary.
Oh, you know what it is?
I had to redo it.
When I put it in, it just said youtube.com/@GameBirdClassic, but then it pulls up your name, right? Like, oh, do you mean this? And then I clicked it. And I think when I clicked it, it turned it into a mass of numbers instead of just @GameBirdClassic. And so now it should be in there for surezies. So yeah, but there's literally no mistaking it now. But thank you, Joycey J, for being the real MVP here. So we fixed that. For sure. Okay, cool. All right, so it looks like there's obviously a lot of things going on in the chat. I can't get to everything, but Boom Miniatsi, what do you hope to see the most in Nintendo Direct? In the partner showcase? You know what? If they say Fable's coming to Switch, that'd actually be pretty cool.
Dang.
That would be pretty cool.
Are you talking about the OG Fable?
I'll take OG Fable, yeah.
There you go. Fable Collection 1, 2, and 3.
I mean, what I most want is Rare Replay, right? But
yeah,
to throw out another interesting thing. Now I'm on just this Microsoft train. I just want it to be Microsoft games now. Although I do want to see a Team Asano game, and it would be nice to see Silk Song finally confirmed. Although I feel like it feels like hopium to want Silk Song, but like it has to happen eventually, right? If the game's not canceled, then it must be in development. So
hey, don't forget Hades too as well. That's Hades was huge when that came out. And I know that game did well on Switch. I mean, Switch kills it with. I feel like as a platform for indies, Switch crushes because having those more bite-sized games on the go is better than anything else. Personally, I think so.
No, yeah, I get you there. All right, so last question. We're coming back. I'll come back to the chat later, but I want to hone in with Cameron for a bit. But Knucklehead asks me, my uncle's second cousin, twice removed, once had a roommate who worked for a guy at Nintendo. He confirms we are getting a remake of Spy Muppets licensed to Croak. Sounds like the game of the year. So
yeah, you all heard it here first.
It's a remake, so can't be game of the year according to the Game Awards, unless it is. So, anyway, let's now. Let's talk about this a little bit more, Cameron. Not Rise of the Croak, the remake, but just like this roller coaster that we're looking to be getting, right? Like, do you feel like it's gonna be weird? I see a private chat. Oh, I see. You were saying you were here. Gotcha. All right, cool. So, but don't you think it would be weird if we get a partner showcase this week, right? Mm-hmm. And there's no Nintendo announcements because regardless of how things, even if Switch 2 is getting revealed in March, which if a partner showcase happens this week, my confidence level goes from like 90% to like 98 in this happening, right? I still will be scratching my head because I'll be like, okay, but well, where's the April game? Where's the May game? Where's the June game? Because I don't think we're getting a March reveal for the system to come out in April, right? I would imagine it would come out 3 to 6 months later, right? I'm assuming closer to 3 to 6. I mean, Switch was 4.5 from reveal to release, right? So I'm thinking like second half of summer, is kind of what I'm thinking, which does also include September, just for the record, the first few weeks, but maybe sooner. We'll see. I just think it would be weird for Nintendo to not announce any published games at all for those few months. Now, is Nintendo just going to have like a 3-month drought then just because Switch 2 is on the way? I want to say definitely no. But what do you think?
Oh man, this is a hard one. Because, well, first off, if we had heard no rumors / leaks / rumblings of a March reveal for Switch 2, I would not be fazed at all by a February partner showcase. It's the fact that Switch 2 might be revealed in March, most likely to be revealed in March, that I'm like, man, if that's the case, that's going to suck the wind out of any OG Switch announcements to come for this year. And I don't know how they fit in a Nintendo Direct that focuses on the first Switch post announcing the second Switch. So I think one solution to that for Nintendo, and this is something I'm almost positive you mentioned on my video, Twitter drops. And we've gotten some pretty sizable Nintendo games announced on Twitter. I believe the Origami King was a Twitter reveal.
Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was.
It was.
Fantastic game. Paper Mario has a good sized fan base. We had a few others. I'm at a loss at the moment, but I know we've had a maybe.
Well, we go to pandemic year. I want to say Age of Calamity and Pikmin 3 Deluxe for Twitter drops.
Yep. So I think that's probably the best avenue.
Basically, there's a correlation between partner showcases and Twitter drops.
Yeah.
When there's a partner showcase, a Twitter drop may soon follow.
Yeah.
This has happened.
Yeah, and like I said, with a suspected Switch 2 reveal of March, I just don't know how they. It's so weird. It would be so weird to squeeze a normal Direct in between those and be like, "Oh, hey, Switch 2, baby, we got a big, expect more information on this in the summer." It just sucks the wind out of it. So
Something's going on with your mic.
Something's going on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
I don't know. It was weird for a second. What was that last sentence you gave me?
I was just saying that it sucks the wind to be like, Nintendo Direct for Switch 1 and then Switch 2 announcement, but we got another Nintendo Switch Direct coming soon for what's filling up the year until then. It's weird. So I feel like the Twitter drops makes the most sense, unless they do something to really show off enhancements, games that are going to come out for Switch and be enhanced.
But you don't get those enhancements until Switch 2 comes out.
Right.
So what happens in the meanwhile, right? What makes more sense to you? Does it make sense to get the Twitter drops before this? Let's all right. So let's establish something here, right? I know some people are going to disagree in the chat because everyone's going to have their opinion, and that's totally fine. But I'm telling you that most of the people that have heard about the partner showcase happening on Thursday have also heard that a Switch 2 reveal is happening in March, right? So the partner showcase strengthens the rumor of Switch 2 reveal in March is the point, right?
Right.
And at this point, we're seeing a lot of signs that that's what's going on with the partner showcase, right? So if the Switch 2 reveal is happening in March, there's a belief it'll happen before GDC, right? So in other words, the first half of March. And so in a way, I think we're looking at like a month and a half period. At this point, it's less of like pretty cool things. So we got the partner showcase now, but then at the end of the month, we get a Pokemon Presents, and then maybe a week or two later, we get the Switch 2 reveal, right? So there's some exciting things that can happen there, right? And the reason I want to sort of outline that expectation based off the rumor, obviously we don't know what's actually going to happen, right? But if that's how things turn out, how does Nintendo position these shadow drop or Twitter drop announcements? Do they happen between the partner presents and the Pokemon presents this month? Do they happen between the Pokemon presents and the Switch to reveal in the beginning of March, or do they happen after the Switch to reveal? When's the best time to say to help to put out announcements that fill up April through June?
Andres, do we have a release date for Thousand Year Door remake? I can't recall. We don't. So it is totally possible that Thousand Year Door is the last big Switch exclusive, and Nintendo fills out the year with third party. Mostly, I mean, we're getting Princess Peach, we're getting Thousand Year Door, we know we're getting Luigi's Mansion 2 remastered for the Switch.
All they told us about that game is that it's summer.
Yep. So maybe we get one other kind of first party thing that's not like a Megaton game.
Maybe it's just Rare Replay.
But I mean,
so here's an interesting consideration. I mean, the thing is, sorry to cut you off, right? But there's I see several ways Nintendo can fill up the months really easily. To your point, both Thousand Year Door and Luigi's Mansion 2, like those can be used to do that, right? I'm actually of the frame of mind that while they have told us summer for Luigi's Mansion 2, that they might even push that up a little bit.
Sure.
You know, like I can see May, for example, right? It is. I think it's worth knowing that both of these games have been rated by the ESRB, so they are content complete. The implication is that Nintendo could drop them soon if they wanted to, right? And so all they have to do is a Twitter drop. The same way how they gave us basically a 5-minute trailer, a 4-minute, 50-second trailer on the Splatoon 3 DLC this week, and they gave us the release date like the week before or something. You know, they can do that at any point. Those two games. But then what if the partner showcase has, for example, Xenoblade Warriors? Xenoblade Warriors. You could put it as an April game or a June game or even a July game. Makes tons of sense with something that could be in a partner showcase because, you know, that's
a partner game. That's a partner game.
Right? We've seen Warriors games show up in partner games before, like Age of Calamity, for example. Except this time it's a Warriors Musa game of Xenoblade, which I think, you know, kind of makes sense, right? So that could be another game, right? Or maybe Nintendo finally decides to just announce on social media, hey, Twilight Princess Moon Maker HD, there's a collector's pack coming out in 3 weeks, but you can get them online now.
Right.
You know, like, they could do that at any point. And then, you know, all of a sudden we have games until July.
Exactly. And my thought process is like, if this is pretty much, as far as first party, all we really have to look forward to for the Switch, and then they're filling in the blanks with third party, and doesn't mean bad third party. We could be getting some really cool third party stuff this year for Switch. That's not a bad year. And that allows Nintendo to really gear up. Nintendo learned really quickly with Switch that launching a new system with a good first year lineup is essential to out of the gate success. Switch had Zelda and Switch had Mario within the first year of its launch. And so I think Nintendo's really knows the power of having a strong software lineup. The Switch, I feel like, is unmatched. I feel like Switch has the best first party lineup of any console I've ever played.
You want to know what's interesting?
So yeah.
It just sort of dawned on me while you're talking. So we're getting Mario vs. Donkey Kong this week, right?
Yeah.
And then next week we're getting the Splatoon 3 DLC. If Nintendo was like desperate to like have things to kind of fill up the year, they could have had the Splatoon 3 DLC release in April. But they didn't. They shoehorned it in a week after Mario vs. Donkey Kong, which I find quite curious, right? I mean, here's another one. Now playing it, I think it makes sense that it did it in the way they did, but a lot of us thought that the Wave 2 of the Pokemon DLC wouldn't release until sometime this year, right? It came out like 2 or 3 months after DLC Part 1.
Right.
And so that was interesting, but also they're episodes of each other, right? So like the story is connected. So if they waited a long time, would have kind of like people would have like forgotten about it. So it makes sense that they didn't do that. right? But it's just kind of interesting though that they could have done that and they didn't, right? So it's interesting, right? I feel like Nintendo could have spaced things out a little bit better if they really wanted to. And I'm gonna guess that they, I'm just saying, I think it does offer a little bit more reason to think that Nintendo isn't like hasn't run out of like
Right.
games for Switch One. I think there's
Sure.
still more. They just
Right.
haven't told us what they are yet.
Right. And again, I think like even with what we know about and sprinkling in some third-party stuff that's going to release throughout the year, it's not a bad year for Switch. That's a pretty good year. We've had bad years for Switch. We've had drought years. You know, there was the pandemic year where it's just like we were just waiting. You know, we had a year where their whole basic E3 presentation was just Smash Brothers, you know, because there was a drought. So this isn't a bad year. They're gearing up for a new console. And I don't know. I feel like we're in for a real treat when we kind of get a pipeline idea of what's coming to the next console, because you think about all those different studios that have been working on stuff for so long. And how do you convince?
There's rumors like I think the Universal Nintendo report talked about how there's several developers that are like
there's like over 200 developers working on Switch 2 games. Yeah. But how do you?
Well, there's that the GDC survey thing, but I just meant like from the report, there's a lot of developers that are just waiting for Switch to be announced. So they can announce their projects for it, and it's interesting, right? Because we also have the rumor of the all the Sega games that were announced at the Game Awards. Those are all coming to Switch, which was predictable if that's the case. But it's interesting about that. We've gone and we already had the rumors for enhanced backwards compatibility, but now other places are reporting the same thing. So that's pretty exciting. But I mean, I've heard that like developers are excited about this. I don't know what that means. I don't know if I should trust that, but that's what I heard, right?
Well, so I just want to say, how do you have a successful launch with a console that's on track right now to outsell the DS and maybe the PS2, which is the best-selling home console of all time? How do you convince that player base to jump to the next one? You have a ton of great games. So I know Nintendo is going to be going big with this one. And for everyone out there, there's a lot of people saying like there's no way we're getting a March reveal of Switch 2 because Nintendo said in their investor meeting that Switch is going to be the focus of 2024. If Switch 2
going into 2024.
Right, going into, but I will say even if he said for 2024, if Switch 2 launches sometime between September and Thanksgiving, November, mid-November, that gives Switch 2 maybe 2 to 3 months on the market for 2024, making Switch 1 the focus of 2024 because it's the main business
calendar. Right? I mean, for sure, right? I agree with that. I mean, I think, to tell you the truth, if the reveal's happening in March, I honestly feel like August. A lot of people are saying September, and I've been thinking September for a while. I think September is like my late date at this point. I'm kind of like August or September is what I'm basically what I'm saying. But,
totally.
I mean, regardless, it's still second half of the year, right? And so Switch 1's still going to have the majority of it's going to have more months. It's going to have 12 of the calendar months being out. Switch 2 won't. But also, there's 140 million people basically that have a Switch 1, or there's 140 million Switch owners, Switches out there. And there's going to be more by the time Switch 2 releases. Even if they're not making that much in terms of hardware from Switch 1 sales anymore, they are still going to make a killing on software for Switch 1. So, even
especially if those games are backwards compatible.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So the Switch 1 business is important to Nintendo, and that's expected. It doesn't change anything, right? Like, so like none of this information is like, oh, I guess Switch 2 is not happening. No, it's like, oh, well, this is as expected. Here's another thing that I've expected that a lot of people kind of twisted in the opposite direction. Pioro on Twitter said, let me not misquote. I talked about it in today's video, but I don't know why everything on my Twitter deleted, but anyway, I can pull it up in a second. He said, I had a lot of notifications today. Now I can't find what I was looking for. There we go. All right. So Puro said, I'm not aware. So he was asked at Olink645 on Twitter, as Puro, are we going to have a partner showcase this week? Right. This was yesterday. And Puro responded, I am not aware of any imminent first party announcements at the moment. So a partner showcase is third party announcements.
Mm-hmm.
So like people took that to mean, oh, that means there's no
Nothing.
direct. That's not what that means. That means he hasn't heard about any imminent first party announcements, right? Implying that he's not. There's nothing there that discounts the idea of third party announcements about to happen. Fiora's choking me with Jedi.
No worries. Take your time. Take a breath.
Anyway,
it's the Switch madness. It's spreading, folks. Stay safe out there.
it is. Yeah, it's in the air. What he said falls 100% in line with the expectation. Yeah, there probably isn't any major first party announcements happening soon because they're going to do a partner showcase instead.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. I will also say there have still technically been announcements like the Splatoon 3 side order trailer, right? We got that, and Puro didn't hint at that coming to us beforehand. It just happened. I feel like this isn't the only time. We had also like the Mario vs. Donkey Kong demo that he didn't hint at. He didn't hint to us beforehand. So what I'm wondering about is he just not mentioning these things, or is he not privy to these things, or is he no longer privy to these things? Right? Those
sure.
Right? We don't know.
That's a great point right there. Yeah, that's all possible.
I don't think the leak train's gonna last forever, right? Leaks do get plugged up.
Right.
So I don't think Nintendo likes that Puro basically hints at half the major announcements, if not more, before directs. This happened with the last two major directs, and there's been a smaller announcement since. If the I don't think it's something that Nintendo's okay with, right? So if they find a way to plug the hole, they're going to plug it.
Don't forget, we could also get a direct in between the partner showcase and the Switch 2 reveal that's not a regular direct, but a specific game focused direct. Imagine new content in Thousand Year Door. You mentioned in your predictions about Luigi content maybe could be a possibility if they enhance it. So there is the possibility, even if it's a third party, we could be getting, if there's something nice and meaty, we could get, stay tuned next week for a direct focus specifically on this game. And it's a 10-minute presentation.
Yeah, I'm going to be the negative Nancy and say that I don't think we've ever seen. I've never seen a game focus direct for a remake or a remaster.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So,
but if we got like a new Hyrule Warriors type game, a new Warriors type, Xenoblade Warriors, that might be something they might
sure, yeah, I mean that, but I'll also argue, right? Like there are certain games that you could just give us like a 4 to 5 minute overview trailer, which is basically like a direct mini on a game anyways, right?
True.
Like it's really not that different. So they could do that for Thousand Year Door. They could do that for Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. Easy. I mean, if there is a Xenoblade Warriors, that would be hype as well, for sure. Yeah. I got a super chat here from Taker. By the way, guys, this is not going to be a long stream, right? So, Cameron and I could probably spit for a little bit more, but I'm just saying, get to your if there's something you want me to address before the stream is over, send your chats now, send your questions and ads now, so I can try and get to it before we close out here. But Taker with a super chat, thank you for super chat, buddy. Says Puro is Doug Bowser. He just wants more people to pay attention to him. Hopefully, paid or free upgrade patches are a thing for at least some Switch 1 games. Yeah, I mean, I think enhanced backwards compatibility is a thing, right? We're seeing rumors popping up about it now, But if you've been following the channel, we've been talking about enhanced backwards compatibility since at least December. Like, it's something we've wanted for a while, like we theorized and speculated on. But like in terms of like an insider saying, "Oh, this is what I heard," Nash Weedle has been speaking on this since last year. And so what's interesting about that, right? And I pointed it out, is that Nash Weedle is a source that a lot of people said, "Oh, he's not credible," but there's literally no proof of them not being credible. Hasn't gotten anything wrong. Hasn't gotten everything right, but there are things that have yet to have been proven yet, right? And so, like, for example, Nashville was talking about dev kits in Spain before everyone else. And what happened about a month later? People started reporting dev kits, right?
Right.
Nashville was talking about enhanced backwards compatibility. And what happened about a month and a half later? People started reporting about enhanced backwards compatibility. So, you know, it's interesting that we see these things from Nashville before other places. Anyways, yeah, I mean, I'm all for enhanced backwards compatibility. I don't know how that will materialize, if there's going to be a little bit of a natural boost, or if they want to get a bigger boost. That's up to the developer to put in there. Is it paid? Is it free? Those are a lot of details that I assume we're pretty much gonna have to wait until Nintendo tells us, before we can really sort of dictate how they're gonna go about doing that. I mean, I don't know. Do you have an idea of what makes the most sense for how they go about doing that, right? Like, can you imagine popping in Tears of the Kingdom to Switch 2
Yeah.
4K automatically for free? I'm not sure that's how it's going to go. I doubt that.
This is a tough one because there's the way I'd obviously love it to happen. There's the way that it might happen, and there's the way that I don't think it should happen. Obviously, I'd love for all the free upgrades or all the upgrades to be free.
Yeah.
I do think it would be cool if maybe some of those early experiences that have the enhancements like Tears of the Kingdom were free as an enticement to upgrade to a Switch 2. People are like, "Oh wow, 4K 60 frames or Tears of the Kingdom." That entices me to want to play the game on Switch 2. And then maybe like third-party stuff, they charge a fee, $5.99 to upgrade, $9.99 to upgrade. My fear would be that the upgrade is just you're buying the game as an upgraded version, and it's near full price to full price. That would be my biggest fear. I think free is unlikely, except for maybe that initial run of games. These 5 games will have free upgrades, and they choose like 5 bangers or something like that to entice. You know what I mean? Bayonetta, maybe those games that would really, really.
Yeah. You know, I like your thinking because it would just kind of encourage more people to pick up a Switch 2, right?
Sure.
It makes a lot of sense from that perspective. I kind of like, just long term, I kind of like the idea of, as a perk, if you're an NSO member, you get free graphics patches. You know, if they're gonna charge for it. And I guess it depends to what extent, right? Like, you know, because if it's just like a basic upscale, is it really worth paying money for it? No. But if it's like, you know, it gets HDR and
and then
ray tracing, then it's different.
I think that's a great idea too. But then that brings into the question: do they add a new tier? You know,
there's already 2 tiers.
There's already 2. Do they add a third? I think Sony and Sony has like 5 tiers to their subscription service.
I hate that.
And theirs is extremely overpriced. Sorry if anyone's a big. I listen. I love Sony. Nintendo's my favorite through and through. I love Sony, but some of their business decisions
recently, man. All the pitchforks and torches are coming your way for sharing. I
know. Fight me.
You're good. I don't think anyone's gonna. Not for that. Nah. Yeah. It's tough. It's tough to say. One thing I kind of don't want to see. I don't want to see, like, I want to see Metro Prime 4 made for Switch 2. Right? Like, I want there to be a good Switch 1 version, but I want a Switch 2 version. I don't want to buy Metro Prime 4 for Switch and then wait, have it come out on Switch 2 later, and then there's a graphics patch. No.
Yeah.
When I play this game, I want to play it in the best way possible day one. That's how I want it.
I feel
I think it would be weird. I think otherwise it would just be a weird choice. Yeah, here's something let me throw out at you, right? And tell me if you agree or disagree on this. But I think that if Nintendo was going to have Metro Prime 4 come out before Switch 2, they would have shown it off already.
we would have seen it. Metroid is not a system seller, and I feel like I'm assuming, especially because Nintendo cared enough about the treatment of this game to scrap its original development and put it in the hands of Retro, a company that they really trust, a company that knows the material. I feel like because it's not a system seller and because of the development cycle, they're going to want to do a nice little marketing push for this. And I think as a Switch 2 title, while it might not be a system seller, it's probably going to launch alongside another system seller game. But I feel like that graphical, that visual fidelity, that only possible on the Switch 2 is going to really be the thing that makes Metroid Prime 4 stand out. So
Yeah, I don't know if you're too far from your mic, but you sound a little muted.
Little muted. Can you hear me okay now?
You sound super clear now. Yeah, you're good.
Okay, weird. I might need a new cable.
I don't know.
Here.
Sometimes you sound underwater, but I bring it up when it's happened, right? So it's only happened like twice.
Yep.
So it's not most of the time.
Okay.
You sounded great.
But yeah, if it was just Switch, I feel like we would have seen it. And I'm wondering, would it make more sense to just put it on like? There's a weird argument because Switch has the numbers. So theoretically, you want it on Switch because there's 140 million of them out there.
Sure.
At the same time, what does that compromise look like? And then does it make it a less enticing Switch 2 game?
Yeah, I feel like I'm not going to verbalize this correctly.
Sure.
But yes, I think there will be a Switch 1 version. Yes, I think it'll be a pretty good running and good looking version. And yes, I think people are going to enjoy it on Switch 1.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's something to the idea of the ideal version and where the hype's behind. Like, I just kind of feel like people want to play Metro Prime 4 on Switch 2 at this point.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of like that's the spectacle, right? And so I kind of have a hard time seeing Metro Prime 4 on Switch 1 being the best-selling version, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I think some people might hear me say that and just be like, oh, this guy's an idiot. He has no idea what he's talking about.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, not every game on Switch sells 20 to 30 million copies in 2 to 3 days, right? There is the Tears of the Kingdom, right? But, I guarantee you that if Tears of the Kingdom was being discussed as a cross-gen title, it wouldn't have sold 20 million in 3 days on Switch. A lot of those people were like, no, we're buying this on Switch 2 instead, right? Because we want to play the best possible version of it. So that kind of like that initial hype, right? The people that want to play the game immediately, people who want to play the game immediately, I think there's a high correlation between wanting to play the game immediately and wanting to play the game in the best way possible, right?
Right.
I think there's a lot of Switch 2 owners there. I think a lot of the early adopters are going to want to play it on Switch 2. And so, you look at games like, I don't know, like Metro Prime Remastered, for example. It's only sold a little bit over 1 million. It's
right.
There's tons of people out there that could buy the system. The game could theoretically have sold 130 million copies, but it hasn't because there aren't that many people that have a Switch that want Prime Remastered. That's just what it is. Even though it's a $40 game, it is a really cheap Nintendo game. And if we want to argue like value proposition, Prime Remastered is arguably one of the best deals Nintendo's ever offered because it's one of the highest reviewed games ever. It has high replay value, right? It's not a small game. It's not a super long game either, in fairness.
Yeah.
But it's a really quality release that's longer and much more universally appraised than many games Nintendo's released for $60.
Sure.
And yet it has less sales in it, so like there's
Yeah.
all that kind of going for it. And so I guess my point simply is that yes, I think there will be good Switch One sales, right? But I think
Mhm.
the hype's gonna be it's gonna be behind the Switch 2 version. I think the idea is gonna be that a Prime 4 is gonna have some evergreen sales. Those evergreen sales are going to
Yeah.
exist mostly on Switch 2. As
Yep.
that's in sales, people will buy it on that. I'm not, again, it's not like 100%. I still think there'll be Switch 1 sales
Right.
as well, but I think Switch 2 is where it's going to see most of its sales.
Right. And I want to add too, I don't have any knowledge of this or any rumors or anything, but Prime 4, this is just a thought. Prime 4 has had an extremely long development. And I'm sure Nintendo knew, at least for the last couple of years or year and a half at least, that this was going to be a Switch 2 game as well. It's had a long development cycle. We've seen the listings. There's got to be a lot of care put into a Switch version. If this is going to be like a big premier Switch 2 title, there has to be a lot of care put into a Switch 1 version, because we don't want, obviously Nintendo doesn't want it to be like, here's an example, Hogwarts Legacy, what it looks like on Xbox and PlayStation versus what it looks like on Switch. We don't know what the fidelity of the Switch 2 version of Metroid Prime 4 is going to be with the ray tracing and 4K and DLSS. But we also don't know what this game looks like. Is it a very linear Metroidvania like Prime and Prime 2 and Prime 3? Or maybe is this the first one to have some really, like, it's still Metroidvania style, but has those really open, spacious areas with like big exploration and caverns and all that stuff. We don't know the magnitude, the size of this game.
Yeah.
You mentioned Prime 1 is kind of a short game. Maybe this one isn't. Maybe this is a 25-hour campaign. We have no idea. So to do this right on Switch 1,
I would argue 25 hours is short.
It's short, but for a Prime game,
Sure.
we
That's
we
like,
don't know. Maybe
that's
30
like,
hours.
All right. I'll compromise, I guess.
I'm just saying we have no idea what the scope is of this. So if they are developing it for Switch and Switch 2 simultaneous, it's going to require a lot of precision, because at the very least, people are going to want this game to look at least as good as Prime 1 remastered. At the very least, right?
That's
So,
if it only looks as good as Prime 1 remastered, I will be disappointed. I mean, I agree. I think Prime 1 remaster is a really good, benchmark to hit. And I think they're gonna at least on Switch 1, they're gonna surpass it a little bit.
Right. I'm saying it has to look as good as that on Switch 1, not Switch 2. Switch 2, I want it to look like a next gen.
I understand.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Yeah, I agree with that. And let me kind of throw this out at you. It's just something on my mind. I'll probably make this into a bigger video a little bit later. But the way I see Metroid Prime 4, and I don't know, right? This is just my speculation. But the way I see Metroid Prime 4, I see it as something that's going to be an evolution for the series. And so that can happen in a lot of ways, right? But, for example, the shooting mechanics and the platforming mechanics back in 2002 have evolved and changed. Like the mechanics from Prime 1 have not aged well, right?
Sure.
And Retro Studios has actually hired a lot of AAA Western dev talent that have worked on a lot of modern day first-person shooters and first-person platforming games. That even have a lot of online multiplayer experience as well. And so I feel what we're going to get with Metroid Prime 4, it's going to be visually impressive. I think there are going to be some really big open areas. Maybe it is open world, or at least has some open world-like environments.
Little chunks, Yeah,
sure, maybe, right? And if that's the case, then I think they would have to think about movement. Are there mounts? Do you ride alien life? Do you ride your ship? Do you do the screw? There's a lot of different ways to kind of go about that. But beyond that, I feel like when it comes to the combat mechanics, it's gonna feel different. Like I think they need to think of it. Like I think this whole idea of tapping A just to shoot your beam cannon repeatedly is not a good way to head to a shooter, right? I mean, it is mapped to the trigger on Switch as well, but I think it's got to be more than just kind of tapping to shoot. I think they have to sort of think about how modern shooters work nowadays and what's satisfying about them, and find a way to implement that still feels Metroid. And so I think that's going to be a big part of the evolution of the series. But then also movement as well. I kind of mentioned, well, if we have bigger open areas, how do you move about them? And so, but even not even just that, just like within combat and just typical platforming, right? Like, are they going to think, like, for example, like Titanfall, for example, right? Or Apex Legends, where or most shooting games now, where when you move, you can do a dash, right? You can dash. You have like a running slide. You have a melee attack. Movement's more fluid. You can run on walls and things of that nature. A lot of things that Metroid didn't have, but it makes sense for Metroid to have. Like you look at how Metroid Dread is, right? She has a running dash. She has a running melee attack as well. She does those things. She can bounce off walls, right? In 2D, but how does that work in 3D, right? Does she have like a running? Can she run on walls, basically, like a lot of shooters can? And so these are things that make sense for Samus being able to do, because she's not a tank. She's actually supposed to be extremely agile.
Yeah. So that's what was so cool about Dread, how fast you felt and how agile you felt. Best movement for Samus, in my opinion, to this day. I want to throw something really quick at you, not to interrupt, but there is a mechanic I could see coming as far as gameplay in Prime 4 that I think would be a really welcome addition. It's something that they've brought into the 3DS version of Samus Returns, as well as Dread, and that's your close quarters counter ability that I think would work really well in the first person Prime style, where if you're getting overrun by some sort of alien life, you do get that opportunity for a close quarters, and it does a cool third person action sequence, kind of like how Doom does stuff like that, the new Doom games. So it's not, and I could see them doing something really cool.
A lot of moments where Samus moves around 3D and grapples with the space pirate and I mean, for sure, I'm for that, right? Like you look at like Resident Evil 4, right? Like we're just modern Resident Evil games in general, where you have these quick time moments, and so like a parry attack, right, where you counter. Right, the parry counter. It's essentially like a quick time moments, right? Like so I'm okay with that. I think that would be cool. I'm finding opportunities to show Samus in third person. Heck, maybe even they're playable a little bit, right? Like maybe like Samus like can chuck something into the air, but you're still behind the camera. I mean, it's the camera still behind the shoulder, and you do aim a little bit and shoot. Like that would be cool for like briefly. Like I do like the idea of playing around the camera a little bit more. What's interesting though is that because Samus has like a visor and obviously a tech suit, they could even like make it kind of like canon in the sense that like when she does like these moves where she goes into third person, she could even have like little like drone camera shoot out of her back, and you see it shoot out of her back, and it's recording her in real time, so she has like extra peripheral vision, right? So basically they just canonize third person, and so that would be actually pretty interesting.
Yeah, they at the last Xbox showcase, they showed off Indiana Jones as the big final game. The game's in first person, but certain actions like climbing a ladder or swinging on the whip pulls Indy into third person and makes it look cinematic.
I didn't look at the game at all. I have to check it out now.
Yeah, check it out. It's really neat that they use third person for certain moments like that, but 99% of the game is in first person. I think Retro Studios could really do some cool stuff with that. And I mean, look at Retro
They've
with
already
Donkey
done
Kong.
It, just finding more ways to do it. Because like you see Samus behind, like when she jumps on a morph ball. Well, first of all, morph ball is third person,
right?
But then when she jumps in and out, you still see her briefly.
Yeah, it's cool. It has like a movie-like feel to it. And they did it with
Donkey Kong.
Oh, I was gonna say even Donkey Kong did stuff because there was kind of a three-dimensional space with like the levels They did some cool stuff with the camera when you're shooting through barrels and stuff that kind of took it out of that 2 dimension. So I think retro, I could see them having fun with the first person to third person, at least cinematic feel of this game.
Oh yeah, for sure. I see it. Yeah, I think they could do some pretty cool things with Metroid. So I'm looking forward to see it. Hopefully soon, maybe next month, right? Like that would be
Maybe
crazy,
next month.
right? Right. Um, we haven't even touched on Mario, but we don't have to yet. But that's probably gonna be a big deal too.
Mario is
I lost you for a second.
Mario's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am hyped for whatever they have to show next. I think they're going to go big.
Yeah. I'm kind of hoping for I want to see like Yoshi use as a mount. Like I want to actually like use Yoshi to run around big open areas.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yep.
But is there anything else you want to sort of speak on in relation to like just this roller coaster we're sort of looking at here for the year?
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a weird year. I think ultimately it's gonna be really, really exciting. Like you said, it is a roller coaster of emotions, going from the letdown for a lot of people about the partner showcase, then the super high for Switch 2 reveal, if that indeed does happen in March, followed by maybe less exciting announcements for Switch, because all we could think about is Switch 2.
If there's no Switch 2 announcement in March, then and there's no if there's nothing in February or March, like imagine like there's literally nothing that happens, right? And so we're in April, Nintendo has announced Squat. We'll probably do a live stream. Nintendo's dumpster fire of 2024. Right? But
maybe I'll do a new Madness video if that happens.
That it'll just be a live stream. It'll be you in real life.
Live stream.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But you'll probably go famous because of it. So it'll work out for you. Yeah.
But no, I think, I mean, if we don't get anything for Switch 2 in March, I think they're just going all in for summer, just like a summer blowout. And then maybe we just get a regular direct before then that kind of just fills in the farewell to Switch 1. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to handle it. Because what did we get? Did we just get a small trailer in March, right? And then we have a big blowout in June?
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense.
So, but then when do we get more Switch 1 announcements? Do they do them separately, or do they do them in the same?
I have no idea. That's the weirdest part. It's like I said, that Switch 2 announcement sucks. Anything that they can announce for Switch 1 after showing the new console, it's like it just sucks the hype out of it.
Unless it's Wind Waker Twilight Princess HD.
Yeah, unless it's that. Yes, of course. And they announce, like I said, if they announce with some like more recent like big games, hey, day one enhancements on Switch 2, when you upgrade to Switch 2, people are going to want to buy it then and now, and they're going to be stoked to play it on Switch 2 when that comes out.
Yeah, for sure. But let's come back to the chat. We're going to close out soon. So I'm just going to kind of go through, trying to get some chats I missed out. Let's see here. Okay. NetWeed09, I never understood Microsoft for making Xbox, as Nintendo are going to make the power gap even more irrelevant now. I think it's curtains for Xbox, really. I don't know. I feel like they're carving their own niche with Game Pass and such. I do think that with them putting out games on other platforms, it is kind of like them more so taking advantage of their power of brand and IP and just getting the revenue from different places, right? Between PC, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, mobile, they have a lot of different ways. I mean, heck, Steam Deck, right? Like, so there's a lot of different places they can get money from. And just because Xbox isn't like the biggest profit for them doesn't mean it's going to go away. Maybe they are sort of struggling with like, hey, we failed to turn a profit for several generations in a row. Maybe it's time that we just kind of pivot, right? And so maybe that's what we're seeing here. But maybe it's a bit of a hybrid approach where yes, you can buy a lot of Microsoft games on other platforms, but if you want to play the Xbox games immediately day one, that experience is still left to Xbox owners, right? So it's not so much that maybe like for Xbox, it's more just timed exclusivity as opposed to just exclusives.
That's what I
Yeah.
think the direction's going to be. I don't think. I mean, look at Sony. Sony releases games on exclusives on their platform,
on PC.
and then they put it on PC 6 months to a year later. I think that's probably the route that Microsoft is going to try. I see Microsoft pumping out. I know it's a Nintendo show. I see them putting out one more console before maybe they throw in the towel completely. But I think as far as like Switch or Switch 2 stuff, maybe 6 months after launch, we'll start to see, maybe Indiana Jones eventually will come to Switch 2. Maybe we'll get Starfield on Switch 2 at some point.
Should we do should I watch the Indiana Jones trailer on stream? Is it too, or is it long?
It's a little bit long because they do some commentary about like the mechanics of the game. But definitely check it out.
Yeah,
because I think there's some interesting ideas there.
Something that you kind of mentioned that got my sort of gears turning a little bit. You were talking about PlayStation, right, and how they put out games, and the thought sort of occurred to me that we see Microsoft and Sony put out games outside of their platforms, right? Nintendo doesn't do that. There's some mobile games, right, but that's it. And what's interesting about that is you look at how Nintendo games sell and maintain value versus the other companies. Nintendo games don't lose value. They stick to the same price. They become collector's items eventually. And Nintendo makes a killing in software sales. You look at Sony and Microsoft. They have some games. I mean, PlayStation has some games that compare from a software perspective, but Nintendo does better. And what's crazy about that is the Nintendo games don't drop in price. Sony games do.
Right.
And so I kind of think that maybe one of the reasons why Sony does put games on PC is because it's all about financials, right? And so they're trying to boost the revenue by putting their software in other places, right? Nintendo, it's actually really interesting when you kind of break it down like that. A lot of people like to think of Sony. I think it's important to look at the numbers, right? But a lot of people like to look at Sony as like extremely dominant. But you can make a really good case for Nintendo as well, right? Obviously, the Switch is on pace to become the best-selling platform of all time, but their software sales are so strong. But not only are they strong, like their revenue is insane because they don't drop in price.
Right.
Other companies do. And so you see Sony, putting some of their games on PC, right? So they can bring in more revenue because they don't maintain value and they don't sell as much. And then Microsoft is far worse. And so what do? They put their games everywhere. They're just whoring that around.
Right.
But like it's very different. So just something to think about.
That's a great point, Andres. And I want to add this too. I'm not sure if Nintendo had the foresight to know this at time, but I feel like ultimately it was a brilliant move. When Nintendo announced the Wii as the successor to GameCube, everyone was, or not everyone, but most people I feel like were really disappointed in the graphical fidelity, hardware performance. That bled into the Wii U, and that bled it into the Switch, where people are like, oh, it's more underpowered hardware. However, by Nintendo being more modest with how they design their hardware, they've been able to keep game development costs significantly lower than the competition. And because of that, Nintendo is not in a position where anytime they release an exclusive, that if that exclusive doesn't meet an insane sales target, we got to shut down that studio. Studio's gone. That game costs $450 million to make. It only made 130 million back. It needed at least 10 million to break even. Studio's done. So this is a really exciting thing to me that we're going into a next gen that's again going to be more modest, but using AI in DLSS to bring you those experiences. And we're going to continue to see great exclusives and not have to worry about that stuff. And they're able to have a higher turnover. Sony, it's going to help them. It's going to help Microsoft to release their exclusives elsewhere. They have slower turnovers for exclusive content. And like you said, when the sales numbers aren't evergreen and don't sell that much, it helps sustain being able to put it in different places.
Yeah, for sure. I have a super chat here from Is R3 Life. What's up, buddy? Thank you for the super chat. They ask, remember when everyone said Nintendo would go third party first, and now Sony and Microsoft are putting stuff in other consoles and PC? I mean, yeah.
every generation, exactly. Basically.
Yeah, exactly. It is ironic though that it's Nintendo is the company that's kind of still the most likely to kind of maintain that traditional mold of, hey, our games are only on our systems. It's interesting that works out. And I mean, to your point, Cameron, how because they were slower on the uptake when it came to improving their hardware, it did minimize development costs at first, for sure. Right. Yep. I think that is very interesting. And also you look at with their partnership with NVIDIA, right? And they are going with DLSS, and there's a lot of advances with AI that, the AI is a very important tool as a creator. As much as I hate hearing about AI, like I saw this Super Bowl commercial, and I may be misinterpreting it, right? But I didn't like seeing it at first because, well, I saw the commercial and it almost sounded like it was just kind of saying, oh yeah, if you're an artist or if you want to make change in the world, you go for it. But it was all about pitching an AI app. So the message I received was, oh, so if you want to change the world, if you want to become a great artist or a creator, just use AI to do it for you. Like that kind of annoyed me, right, as a creator, right? But I'm sure there's some nuance there, right? Because it can be a good tool. But I'm just saying though, right? Like, Nintendo taking their time with these advancements, I do agree with you that I think that does benefit them overall. And maybe this is my hopium kind of talking to me right now, but I do kind of feel like the Switch 2 leap from Switch 1 is going to be pretty significant. And I think we're as Nintendo fans, we're in for a real treat. Yeah. So
agreed.
Nintendo in some ways is going to be catching up here. And when Nintendo catches up, that's crazy because Nintendo is just so good at playing from behind, I guess, that when they're on par, it's just going to blow our minds.
Yep.
Yeah. So going back to the live chat here, just scrolling through. We do not have the release dates for Thousand Year Door or Luigi's Mansion 2 HD yet. They've just been rated by the SRB, so they're close. Thousand Year Door doesn't have a set release date at all. It's just 2024. Luigi's Mansion 2 has summer, and that's all that they've told us for now. Jakob Sahin, roses are red and violets are blue. On just restarting Game Bird Classic. Both of you are really kind and awesome. We all love you. Appreciate that.
Hell yeah.
I was half worried because I didn't read the sentence beforehand that it was going to be like a jab or something.
I know.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Game Junction. Metroid Prime 4 could be cross-platform between Switch and 2. Some rumors I've been informed of. Yep. That is the talk. Lex 234. I have a DS, but I'm waiting for the Switch drop to play it. I started the game on DS, but the screen was tiny and not the best graphics, so I'd rather wait. I'm not sure I understood the statement. I have a DS, but I'm waiting for a Switch drop to play it. Oh, you have it on DS.
Drop, maybe. Yeah.
I'm assuming we're talking about Luigi's Mansion. Is that, or am I mistaken?
I think that's what he's talking about. Maybe.
Yeah, I think she's I think she's talking about Luigi's Mansion on 3DS, or I might be confused. Sphero Mansion. Switch would still be the focus of 2024, even if Switch 2 came out in March, because it's backwards compatible and the majority of games would be for Switch and upgrade for Switch 2 anyway. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, there's been a lot of cross-gen games and stuff. It's all right, Game Junction. I'm usually behind on the chat, so I'm always playing catch up. Sam Talks Games with a super chat. Thank you for the super chat, buddy. Sam says, what do you think is coming in the next 5 years for Zelda? The best freaking thing ever made. Well, I still stand by my Ocarina of Time remake theory, right? We'll see if that pans out, but I think that's a 2025 thing. I still think we got to get a 2D Zelda game. And they need more than 2 games between now and 5 years from now. So what else is there? Well, Wind Waker Twilight Princess might come out soon.
I think we'll at least see the next mainline Zelda in 5 years. It won't be out in 5 years, I don't think, but I think we'll at least see the next mainline Zelda.
What do you make of the speculation? Tinfoil hat, crazy thinking that they've already been working on the next Zelda since before Tears of the Kingdom came out.
I 100% think that's true. I think
really,
I do.
Really,
dude.
Maybe that skit wasn't a skit after all. All right, no, all right. I'm gonna keep an open mind here. I'm ready to hear you out.
Well, no, I just
I might not even disagree with you. I'm just kind of messing with you. Tell me what you think.
I mean, once Tears of the Kingdom got to the point where they just need to work out all the kinks before it goes gold, I think that's the time. I mean, they're always thinking about what's next. They have their book of ideas, the things that aren't making the cut. Oh, not for this game, but these might be ideas we can use for next time. I think they already have ideas for where they might go next. Maybe they hadn't landed on an art style yet. Some of those little things. But yeah, once they're just working out the kinks for the game to go gold, I think that's time for at least a chunk of the team to get started on really working out those new mechanics to build the next game off of. I mean, what was it, 6 years for Tears of the Kingdom, roughly 5 years for Breath of the Wild. I think that they have to play around with the new hardware. I don't think they're just getting started now. I think they're already got their feet wet. I don't think we're going to see it soon. Maybe a few years before we see it. 3 to 3.5 years before we see our first tease or something like that. And then they fill in the blanks with, a remaster or a remake of Ocarina of Time, hopefully. Fingers crossed. But yeah, I think development for the next Zelda, at least R&D for the next Zelda, started before they officially hit that Tears of the Kingdom finish line. What do you think about that?
So I'm trying to pull up a quote from Hidemari Fujibayashi, the director of Tears of the Kingdom, also the director of Breath of the Wild, and I believe Skyward Sword. There was just something he said where he already has the next Zelda in mind.
There you go.
But this came out when the game came out, right? So I'm trying to find the quote.
No worries. I think I remember that too, reading that.
Yeah, so here it says that according to Zachary Small, a New York Times writer who recently posted an interview with Fujibayashi as well as a series producer, Eiji Onuma, the story itself focuses more on design challenges that Tears of the Kingdom facing during development, but in a tweet, Small added that it seems likely that Fujibayashi has already plans for the next Zelda game, though he hasn't even told Onuma about it yet. So this isn't the quote, this is an article that didn't find the quote. Because I just Googled it while you were talking. But yeah, there was something like that was said. Yeah, so I mean, by the time the game came out, Fujibayashi already has something in mind. But if he hasn't told Onuma about it yet, they're not like, maybe that conversation has already happened by now because it's already been a while since release.
Sure.
But I guess my point is, unless they're kind of lying to us or they're giving us really old information with these interviews, I don't think that they're like deep into development.
Sure,
Already. Yeah, and from what you said, you're pretty much on the same page. Like you're just
yeah.
talking about
I'm
like
talking about R&D, basically fleshing
yeah,
out like new
pitching ideas exactly. Right,
Yeah,
like they don't know exactly what they're doing yet. Although we don't, maybe Onuma just kind of tweaks, right? And maybe what Fujibayashi has in mind is more than just something he wrote as a doodle on the train one day, right? Like
sure.
maybe he's already worked with some of his key members on some interesting core concepts and does have a running idea of the gameplay loop, right? So
Right.
maybe, I guess we don't really know at what point is Enuma going to be a part of the beginning of the process, right? Because as he
Right.
gets older, he's going to take, I assume he's going to start taking, more and more steps
A
back,
lesser
right?
role, just
But I
kind of
mean,
supervising
he's already been the producer and not the director
for a while.
for a long time.
Yeah.
Skyward Sword was directed by Fujibayashi. Skyward
Yep.
Sword came out in 2011.
Yeah,
It's
roughly.
2024, right? So Fujibayashi's been directing Zelda games for a while already. So I don't think they.
And I would argue,
Yeah.
just from a technical, just to be a little bit technical about it, regardless of the fact that at the time of that interview, he says he hasn't shown his ideas thus far to Aonuma, I would argue that the guy who's been directing Zeldas for a while now is already planning ideas for the next game, is him starting work on the next Zelda game, because he's working on new ideas.
They absolutely, I mean, just to be clear, I absolutely agree with you. They were already working on the next Zelda before Tears of the Kingdom came out.
Right.
I guess just when some people hear that, they're thinking, oh, could they like show us a trailer already?
Right, like an engine already and stuff.
Right, and I think the answer is not without it being a bunch of bullshit. Like
they could do a Skyward Sword type announcement. Remember when it was just a piece of concept art? It was
sure
just
they could give us a concept art. They could do that. They could do like a 2000 a 2000 Space War demo thing where it's not at all representative of what Wind Waker would be, right? They're just tech demos.
Ah man, I hope they don't do a tech demo.
No, you know what I do. I want them to show us. I want them to, in an effort to showcase the abilities of Switch 2, I want them to show off a remade Ocarina of Time, except it's not actually a tech demo.
Yep.
It's the game. It's the game. It's coming. But maybe don't let us know it's a thing. Like, let us debate it for like a year, and then be like, oh well, yep, it's real. Here it is. It's coming out the end of 2025 or something.
Dude, all they have to show me for I'd lose it. Imagine this: Ocarina of Time remade for Switch 2. It's got the beautiful engine. It's got the ray tracing, DLSS, all those bells and whistles. All they have to show me is that piano opening song with Link on the horse going across the field in the title, Ocarina of Time remake in development. That's all I need to see. Fully orchestrated, beautiful. They don't need to.
Oh man.
Just tease it like that. I'll have tears from the piano and the music. I don't need to see any other details. Announce it like that just to get those emotions.
Bro, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to be breaking down the pixels, and I'm going to be like, listen, the terrain is literally different. This means that the map is different. This means that they've rethought the level layouts. This implies potentially new content, baby. We're getting a new dungeon. Rauru is the boss of the Light Temple. Here we go.
I love it.
I actually don't. What's crazy is I actually might predict that, but I'll hold off on that for, I don't know, maybe next year, or if they show something this year. But anyways, man, that would definitely be a high point of the emotional roller coaster if that happens this year. But whoa, all right, this is kind of blowing my mind because we're about to end the stream, right? And like, so we started. Like we were hitting around 160 when you came in, right? And then when we were, kind of in the mix of things, we were around the 200s. And then as the night drew on, I was like, oh, it's getting a little bit later, right? And so we started dipping down, and they were around 155. And I was like, all right, let's call it. And I saw we were at 155, and now we hit 234. We just jumped like 70 people.
Beautiful.
Who raided?
Who's responsible for this?
Who raided? Did the Nintendo Prime raid? Ah, there we go.
That is a prime example of how you raid another stream.
We've been raided. I've raided Nate before. He's raided me back now. Okay. 246. Man, we're coming in. I was gonna end the stream. What's wrong? Like now I can't end the stream. I mean, I can still end the stream. I would just feel I would feel rude then, you know. But I mean, Cameron, if you want to, you know, if you want to step out, you're welcome to. But I take that as a no. Yeah. Let's see here. Israelite has joined as a member. Thank you for joining, buddy. Yeah, I feel like you've been here for such a long time, but I'm glad you have your membership. Thank you. Thank you. So checking with the chat here. Yeah, quite the raid going on. Connor asks me, "Hi man, how's it going?" Also, so I know this is the last direct. I know that it could be a partner showcase, but I just hope that we do get Tomodachi Life for Switch before Switch 2. It could be happen. It could be happen. We'll see. Joyce J is adding me. Talk about a Zelda theory. Okay. Oh, Israelite, that's right, because you're on Patreon. Gotcha. Thank you for being a double member. I appreciate that. Zelda theory. Cameron, do you have any Zelda theories? I have something. I've had something in my mind lately. I haven't really thought it out extremely well yet, so please forgive me.
Yeah.
And I just want to point out that I kind of feel like I ran dry on a lot of my Tears of the Kingdom theories because we did a lot of them, and it's been a while.
Totally.
But when I saw the Zelda statue on Friday, right, and then they show the Triforce on Zelda's hand, it really just got my brain spinning a little bit. And you know, I've been kind of thinking,
Triforce juices flowing.
Right. I was kind of thinking, oh, should we talk a little bit about the Triforce, you know, in Tears of the Kingdom, because it's like not really there, right? The Triforce is a part of Zelda in Breath of the Wild, and then with the statue, the implication is, okay, the Triforce is still a part of Zelda in Tears of the Kingdom. But I mean, maybe it explains why her powers are so much more significant than Queen Sonia's. Mm-hmm. I mean, Queen Sonia in the game talks about how Princess Zelda has kind of both of them in her, right? She has time and light powers, if I remember correctly. So, you know, there's that. Here, you know, Kappa saying it's also visible in the last memory. Yeah, I'm not saying that the statue is the first time we've seen it, right? Just kind of reminded me of it. So, you know, it's just something I've kind of thought about. Like, what is the deal with Zelda having the Triforce? Why does she have it, right? Because in the past, it's been split. At what point in time did the Triforce just become just part of Zelda? And so, me thinking, I gotta, you know, I gotta do research, right? This is surface level, but two different perspectives I got here, right? One, well, what if, I mean, so either A, the event, I mean, we know that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom take place at the end of the timeline, actually, right? That part is canon. And so the implication is that the Triforce is now united under her. But if you want to make the argument beforehand, right, like, you know, go back to the times of Skyward Sword, where the goddess is the first time reincarnated as a woman. This sounds very, very Christian right now, but, you know, almost like Jesus. But
preach it, brother.
I mean, the thing is, actually, in a lot of stories, you know, if you've ever like studied like, you know, like world literature or something, they always talk about how Christ figures are a common motif and just like narratives overall. But anyways, you know, beyond that, it's just kind of interesting, you know, like I could say, like, for example, if Tears of the Kingdom took place at the beginning of the timeline, I could see how Zelda could be the one who has the Triforce, because maybe she's
Right.
the reincarnation of the goddess before they decided to like split it up. But
Right.
because they're at the end, it's just interesting, like what led to that moment, right? So I need to
Right.
go back and do some research and freshen myself up. It's just a thought that came to mind when I saw the statue. I'm sure, you know, some people who have been paying more close attention to the Zelda lore and history might be like, yeah, well, there's these things going on that you should keep in mind, right? So I need to go back and do a little bit of research on it. But it's just something that's I've been sort of thinking about, like, what event caused the Triforce to be just a part of Zelda, and why does it still stay with Zelda? So, because I was actually under the impression that maybe she wished upon the Triforce at the end of Breath of the Wild, and that's how she destroyed Calamity Ganon, and why we didn't see it afterwards, and why her powers sort of like, you know, seemingly disappeared, but then they come back, but they're different in Tears of the Kingdom. So it's interesting. Here, Kappa says, my theory regarding that is that she got each piece when she went to each of the 3 springs to pray, but it stayed kind of inactive within her. At least that's what I always thought. Actually, you know, that is a good point. That maybe without realizing it, she obtained the 3 Triforce pieces throughout the story of Breath of the Wild before the apocalypse, right? Before the great calamity. And I mean, that could be it. You know, there's not some grand event that happens beforehand. It's interesting that's how it could have worked out. But I guess the question is, why does it work like that now, right? Because in the past it didn't work like that. So I mean, you could just chalk that up to, well, it's a game. That's what they decided to do. Get over it, right? But then that goes against theorizing, right? Where we try and come up with a more elaborate story, you know, behind what may not be so elaborate of a thought process. I feel like that's the history of Zelda theorizing, you know? And maybe the gods just came to the determination that there need to be a bit of a shift in the plan because, well, Calamity Ganon has gone really strong. Yeah, so maybe there's something to that. But anyways, that's just a thought that I've considered.
It's an interesting thing to consider for sure. I don't really, I wish I had a theory. Zelda's my favorite. I love Zelda more than anything. I wish I had a good theory for this. But I don't think I've done enough examination of the lore on Tears of the Kingdom to offer a fully fleshed out theory. So I'll give a cheap one, I guess. And I'll ask it.
Mine was pretty cheap, I would argue. So
this is even cheaper. So
okay.
yours is way more fleshed out than mine, because I'm gonna leave my theory as just a question, and that question is: do Kilton, the monster part merchant, and Tingle share the same lineage?
Bro, are you serious?
Look at them next to each other.
Your theory is way better.
No.
Yeah. I mean, they both got big heads.
The big pointy heads.
Yeah.
They wear. I mean, Kilton is wearing a more elaborate outfit, but they have.
I mean, Kilton's basically like goth Tingle.
He's goth Tingle. He's all obsessed with monster parts. He thinks he's a monster, like Tingle thinks he's a fairy.
That there's a little, and his brother wants to become a monster, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And Tingle wanted to become a fairy. So, also just the other Tingles in the Wind Waker, are they his siblings or are they just fellow men that want to become fairies?
Is there an army of Tingles out there somewhere?
Yeah, there's a legion of them. It's a thought. It's a good thought. Yeah. I could dig into some other theories, but I feel like I've touched on there are theories that I have more well thought out, but I've made videos on them already. So, I got a super chat here from Nintendo Prime. Thank you for stopping by, my friend. Thank you for the raid as well. I ended my stream early because I am sick and want extra rest tonight for tomorrow. Enjoy the views, my friend. I hope you feel better, buddy.
Yeah, feel better, dude.
Yeah,
rest
for sure. Yeah, please get some rest. Going back to the chat here. Let's see. Venatus asks me, I asked Prime this, and so I'll toss this to you too. Do you think game companies should be more open on development and marketing so as to cut down on leaks and false fan expectations? I mean, the fact of the matter is, it kind of comes down to. I mean, how each company wants to handle things, right? I mean, and also you have Western developers, right? You have developers in Europe, you have developers in Japan, and like you have all these different cultures, right? And so they're going to have their own philosophies and thinking about how things should go, and just people have different
Right.
opinions and all of that. Um, I I don't know. I think the part of the problem with being too open is that when we know about things too ahead of time, we're like, oh, well, what about this? When is this going to happen? Is it going to happen? Oh, well, it's not going to happen, right? Like, I remember there's a lot of games we've heard about over the years that were canceled or were never fully greenlit. And we're always like wondering, oh, what if? But we've only heard about some. There's tons out there that we've never heard anything about.
Yeah.
So
most probably
yeah.
we've never heard about, to be honest with you, with how secret they are with that sort of stuff.
You're totally right. And so I would say that it's probably best that they are more quiet on these things, just because, I think they should only tell us about things until we know we're gonna get it. Can leaks impact fan expectations? They can, but I think that comes down to the responsibility of the individual person at that point. You have to understand that if the company themselves is not sharing the information, even if it's legit, doesn't mean it's going to be completed. Plans change. Let's talk about Switch Pro. Switch Pro, right, was a legit thing apparently, but it was canned. They changed. They wanted a different direction. So, it's just an example.
Right. Also, too, like when companies are developing a game and they really want to innovate and let their creativity shine in a unique experience that gamers have never seen before, being transparent, like, a game like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom had a lot of unique mechanics that had never really been seen or done before in an open world, but they both had long development times. So what would that mean for showing off all the goods too soon is that now they have a ton of competition, a bunch of people being like, ooh, I like that idea, I'm putting that in my game, and then potentially damaging the sales, or damaging the hype of mechanics that we're getting our hands on for the very first time. I think there's a very valid reason why Nintendo kept Tears of the Kingdom so close to its chest until launch with like the fusion mechanics and the build stuff, because look at how many Breath of the Wild type clones followed immediately after. Genshin Impact, I know they're not exactly clones, but you can see them trying to incorporate the DNA of Breath of the Wild in them. Genshin Impact, the Ubisoft game, what's it called? Phoenix Immortals.
Immortals, Phoenix.
Yeah,
Rising,
Phoenix Rising.
Or is that something else? I feel like I don't.
That's right. But there's been a ton. It's just what happens. I guarantee we'll start to see the DNA.
No, actually, that is the name of it. Yeah,
Tears of the Kingdom start to be present in other games.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue. I actually don't like that we learned about Tears of the Kingdom as early as we did. Right, like that was just painful. Like, it was hyped to see the announcement, but when we saw the announcement, we were all like, oh, all right, it's coming out next year.
Right.
But no, it wasn't. Like, we got excited because, like, oh, it's a direct sequel, which means it's not going to take them that long to make it.
Same engine.
Well, yeah, we had all these arguments, right? All reasons why games typically finish faster, but instead they took longer. And I think that's another. I think what's interesting about that is that does kind of feed into, I think, some of the negativity surrounding Tears of the Kingdom.
Right.
I think some people expected more when it felt very similar in a lot of ways. So I think that's contributed. And it also contributes to some of the speculation that maybe they're working on another Zelda game, right? Because some people feel like, oh,
Right.
there's no way this is the only thing they worked on this whole time. I mean, I think some people just really underestimate just how crazy it is what they were able to accomplish from a tech perspective in Tears of the Kingdom with the
Hmm.
abilities and the massive world and going from the top to the bottom and the bottom to the top, like basically 3 worlds in one
Yeah.
on the Switch with everything else that Breath of the Wild accomplished. And still technically better visuals, just for the record. Uh,
Yeah.
it's it's pretty insane what they did. So that's why I think it took so long. Um,
Right.
you know, it's unfortunately or fortunately, the kind of Zelda games that they're developing now are far more sophisticated and nuanced than anything they've done in the
Right.
past. So it's just a different beast.
Right.
So but going back to the point about like our games maybe showing off too soon, with like in terms of being open, I think sometimes you got to be more quiet until it's the right time. And so you look at Metro Prime 4, right? That's like the opposite example almost, right? Yes, they announced a restart initially, but once they realized that it wasn't going to happen, they got
Yeah.
extremely quiet once they said, "Hey, we're starting over. See you in your next lifetime." Right? Basically, I'm almost like on one hand, me and many others were frustrated about the long wait from the announcement of Tears of the Kingdom to its release, right? With that initial trailer, at least they gave us a trailer to be excited about, right? In the case of Metro Prime 4, we have nothing to chew on at all. And so we've
Right.
waited this entire time without anything. And so what's worse, having something to chew on or nothing to chew on until they're finally ready to show it off and it's like this crazy thing, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it kind of goes both ways. I think in general, it makes sense to have something to. In the case of Nintendo, they have the luxury of giving us things to be excited about
Hmm.
throughout the generation, right? So they don't necessarily have to give us, oh, well, here's Metro Prime 4. Since they only get 3 games a year, at least be excited about this game that's coming 3 years from now. It's not like that. We have a game coming
Right.
out pretty much every month, right? It's directly from Nintendo. So
Hmm.
we don't need them to tell us about games that are years in advance. That it doesn't make sense. That said, I wouldn't be surprised if to start the next generation, they do mention a couple long-term projects, just so we know, you know,
Right.
like because that's typically what happens. But I'm
Yep.
personally hoping that they just have such a good like pipeline put together that they can just focus on what's coming in the next year, and that alone is hype enough.
Right. Yeah.
See, I got a few more super chats during my long rant. Um, Varum Verby, thank you for your super chat. Thanks for what you do, Andres. Love the daily content. Also, please show Ruby if possible. Feel better, Nintendo Prime. I second that if he's still watching. Yeah, sure. I can fetch Ruby. That's not a problem. I'll also point out Charles Trudell said with the super chat as well. Tip before I forget. Thank you for that little tip there. So I will go fetch Ruby. Cameron, is there anything you want to say while I go fetch Ruby?
Sure. I've got lots to say. How's it going, guys?
I'll be right back.
I'm the temporary host of Andres Restart. I'm going to share some of the greatest predictions you've ever heard in your lives. But seriously, in all seriousness, yeah, no, Zelda was. I agree with Andres. I think it was announced a little bit too early. We had the pandemic too, that obviously slows down things a lot. So maybe initially we would have actually gotten the game sooner. I will say that I feel like Nintendo generally is really good about keeping games close to their chest until it's close to release. There she is. There's the star. Metroid Prime 4, I feel like, was a very special occasion because it was such a long awaited sequel that fans had been crying for. So having that moment be like, hey, Metroid Prime 4 is now in development, like that was like this huge mind blowing moment. And I don't think Nintendo foresaw having to completely restart development on that one. But generally, I feel like out of all the companies, Nintendo's actually best at that.
What was the last part?
I was saying generally, I feel like Nintendo's the best at keeping games closer to their chest before announcing them compared to the other companies. And that Prime 4 was kind of, it was a special occasion. People have been waiting for and hoping for a sequel to Prime for so many years that it was like this really cool event announcing it. And obviously, they didn't foresee shutting down development and restarting when they did that.
Cool. All right. Well, I feel like pretty much close to ending the stream here. I just see Sonia's ghost in Netweed's chat, so I'll read this last chat here for the night. Netweed here says Sonia's ghost, I feel, had only as much power as Rauru after he finally let go of his hand so very little. But I feel the Zonai could have been more present in more forms. I do want to see the Zonai more fleshed out. I honestly don't think the Twilight Princess, rather the Twilight Zonai comparisons are crazy. I think there could be something to that still. I mean, think of it for this perspective, right? The Zonai are kind of animal-like, as are the Twilight, right? They're like fuzzy, right? Or at least Minna was. The Twilight, I guess because of the technology, it's hard to say like how fuzzy they were. I kind of assumed that they were fuzzy because we know Midna was. They have the same color palette, like the whole black and white thing.
Right.
I don't know, but they're a magical tribe that disappeared mysteriously. So there's some similarities at least. And I see I got one more super chat here from Varum Verbi for some catnip for Ruby. Thanks, Andres. No problem. Thank you. Ruby will appreciate it. Appreciate that. But with that, I think we're pretty much good to end the stream. Thank you everyone for watching. A like would be appreciated. If you're new here, you could subscribe because we talk about Nintendo every day. But we have another good YouTuber over here, Gamebird Classic, who recently put together a pretty cool predictions video with a really awesome skit to start it off. And there's a whole bunch of creators that are in that predictions video that are fantastic as well. His channel is linked in the description below, and I no longer think it's a broken link. Looks good to me. So, yeah. Anything you want to add to that, Cameron?
As always, man, thank you so much for having me on the channel. I love getting to talk Nintendo with you and be a part of this. And again, like Andres said, go check out the predictions video. It's got Andres on there. He throws up the first predictions to kick it off. But again, a bunch of great content creators that I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. It was a fun time, fun skit, and I hope to be back to talk more Nintendo sooner than later, man.
Yeah, man, for sure. Let's do it again soon. All right, guys. Yeah. Have a good one.